thinking about that, the Dukes became the first unranked team to the WCWS semifinals, and then she went 6-2 with a 2.92 ERA and 66 strikeouts, which was the second most in the tournament. She only had 28 walks, and that was all over 64 and 2/3 inning. She didn't pitch that 1/3 of an inning.
Dear God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially the walks is shocking too with how many pitches, because like I watched, watching it, you could just tell like some of the pitchers, like it's a little bit like, I was funny because like the strike zone, I was like, man, the strike zone's tight in that one. So that's crazy to me that she was not only that accurate, but that like durable, and that like obviously production's there considering ERA so low. Like that's crazy to me. Wow, just yeah, that blows my mind, honestly. I can't even like fathom that. So
I think we might have lost our picture of her, but that's okay.
that's all right.
She did receive a standing ovation when she left. They finally put in relief for her from JMU and Oklahoma fans when she left the final game. It was the last game of her career. She was super emotional. I was almost emotional. It was really cool to see, especially because the tournament is played in Oklahoma, and so Oklahoma University is basically at home. They're not too far from Norman, which is where they normally play. So Oklahoma City is like, you have a lot of Oklahoma fans, which is super intimidating. And she came in, she pitched her heart out, and just that last game, she finally gave out. Like, they did lose 2, which, because it's double elimination, but that last game, it was just, she was so tired. You could tell she had been pitching for like 3 weeks straight, and she just needed a freaking break. And I don't know, the hitting was there for Oklahoma. They do come through. Oklahoma is a fantastically hitting team.
I was gonna say that's what I noticed, is basically like reading up on them and everything. It was like, yeah, they're just a powerhouse that you can't like hold back for too long. But yeah, I do remember actually seeing that on Twitter, and now putting some kind of context into that makes a lot of sense why it was like everybody getting as emotional as they were.
This tournament has been so popular on Twitter. Like, if you go on Twitter, you want to read anything about softball, it is there. I've been following on Twitter way more than I normally would have, and it's been great just to see the commentary that has been online and that people are actually watching it. So I've seen that, and I thought, this is great. Thank you, Twitter.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. I was like, that's what I meant by like the popularity. Like I just saw this year, I saw it way more on social media.
Oh, definitely.
And that's like, I saw videos like of her that I didn't even know I didn't know what was happening, but I saw the video, and then that's what sparked me to actually watch it and go, oh, it's on TV. Like, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't even know it was on. And then I like go and turn it on, because obviously being one of those people that just like, it's, again, I'll accept the fact that I'm a guy and just haven't known about, the fact that the College World Series exists as much, or like as when it does, like when it's on. And so it was kind of crazy to see that all over social media. And then like I said, I was getting interested in it because I was seeing the clips and the videos. And so it's actually really cool that they're getting a lot more reach on social media, because it was highly entertaining when I watched the games. And it's just one of those where I don't think people honestly just know too much about it to be able to. So,
yeah. Well, that's all I have on JMU. Just that they really did bring a lot of heart into the game, and it was really fun to watch. Their third baseman, I believe her name's Lindsay Meeks, but she's like 4'11". She played her freaking heart out. She's out dancing to the crowd. It was so fun. It was a good time to watch them. I was really heartbroken when they lost. I would have rooted for that team. I would always root for an underdog, but I was very proud of these people that I do not know to see them put everything they had into this game. So it was really awesome to watch.
I was gonna say, and that helps a lot when you like, even just to make the appearance and everything, it's going to help that school out and everything like that, and recruiting and everything, and popularity, and putting them on the map. But yeah, it's always awesome to see like somebody who's like, a heavy underdog or something like that come out of nowhere. And again, kind of the Stars Born kind of thing with her and her production. So
yeah. All right. So the next picture I have here, I believe, is Florida State. Yes, Florida State. This is after they had a 4-2 win over Oklahoma State. But there was a really dramatic turn to this, was that their game ended at 2:30 a.m. 2:30 a.m. because they had a weather delay. It was Saturday afternoon. There was a weather delay. And it pushed the 2 later games back. So I don't remember. I think the game was supposed to start at 9:30 Eastern, which would have been 8:30 Central for here. But I don't know what time it actually started, probably about midnight. I can't believe they started a game at midnight, but they do have a schedule to stick to. And a lot of the games have been played on ESPN or ESPN2, and there's a lot of programming that goes into that. So just thinking about that game, it was insane. They had like a big thing online that I had seen where they were calling for no more midnight games from a lot of the coaches. And I mean, you're playing from noon to midnight at that point, and midnight to 2:30. And it's crazy because those days they do play 2 games in a day. They will play 2 full games in a day. You don't see it a lot with college baseball, but it happens every once in a while. But like, these girls were out there, they're playing hard, they're playing in the rain, they're playing in the heat. Oklahoma is hot. Oklahoma is really hot, and then they have to play a game that starts at midnight and then come back and play the next game probably at noon. So it's a lot to put on these women, you know? But this eventually led to the tournament being lengthened for a day because the next day they had a rain delay as well. So instead of starting a game at midnight, they ended up like changing their schedule, which was nice then. But now, because of the World Series needing a game 3 starts at 2 p.m. Central tomorrow, which sucks. Like they got prime time. They got prime time for the first 2 games, and now game 3 they're at crap time. But I don't know what else is on of like basketball or what other baseball games are on. So there's probably something else they would have been like competing with for a time slot. But if you're there tomorrow, 2 p.m., we can watch that World Series game and support our softball teams. The next topic we have here is Alabama pitcher Montana Fouts.
Yes, this is something that shocked me because I heard that this happened, and then I was like, why is this not talked about more? And I know it's obviously, like, I'm not gonna turn a blind eye to the fact that it's women's softball, and so of course that's going to be some bias there and why. But I saw this and I was like, that's insane. It was like the clutch, the like just the pressure and everything like that, and then to do that as a team that's not also like heavily favored is crazy to me. So that's why I saw this and I was like, we got to talk about this because this is amazing. So
this is pitcher from Alabama, Montana Fouts. She threw the 5th ever perfect game in the Women's College World Series. Little side note here, it was against UCLA. UCLA has multiple Olympians on the team, and Maya Brady, who is the niece of Tom Brady, which you might have heard about. It's been in social media a little bit. Tom Brady called her like the best athlete in the family or something like that. But I think I know
who he is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Who is he? Yes. So, they have a great team. UCLA, they have Olympians in Maya Brady, who is a fantastic athlete in her own right, but she still threw a perfect game against this wonderful sounding team. It was her 21st birthday, which is so awesome. She threw 14 of the 21 outs as strikeouts. So there were some like ground outs, there were some fly outs, but at her peak, she had 7 strikeouts in a row.
That's insane. I mean, God, man, even watching a little bit, like I couldn't, when I heard that this was a thing, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's crazy. I don't know why this isn't talked about. And then I watched like the actual World Series game and was like, how did this woman even I don't even know how you hold up for all those innings, let alone like have one blooper, because like obviously the way that the infield is and everything like that, it's so like it's smaller, so it's quicker. Yeah. So like the fact that the infield didn't even have like a blooper that snuck through, or the outfield didn't have a ball that dropped. Like it's insane the way that it's an incredible achievement, and it's like amazing that it wasn't. Obviously, it sucks that it's not talked about as much, but it's still an incredible achievement that I was like, I can't believe that actually happened.
Well, something wild too, like you said, like there weren't any bloopers, there weren't any like even in the infield or the outfield. UCLA didn't hit the ball out of the infield until the 5th inning. They play 7 innings, so they didn't hit the ball out of the infield until the 5th inning. So she held up, she pushed it hard, she pitched a fantastic game. There's some really like cute pictures out there of them like celebrating, and she looks a little wild, but like it was her 21st birthday. She had a great time. And there's an interview out there too where she's like, yeah, I wasn't thinking about throwing this kind of game. I just had to keep pushing, keep throwing for strikeouts, and look at where that takes you.
Yeah, I mean, just God, it's like everything that goes into a perfect game in general, in any facet or level of baseball, and then to think about it happening in a level where basically you're talking playoffs. You're talking playoff scenario where UCLA is not a bad. It's not like she threw a perfect game against like the worst team in college. She threw it against a team that was very deserving of the spot that they were in, and so that's even crazier. And then to be in an elimination type setting, and then it's just the 21st birthday. It's literally everything compiles into, I don't know how she did this, and it's incredible.
Yeah. And I think she kind of feels the same way. Like, I don't know how I did this, but it feels good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just, like I said, it's just one of those where every time I think about it, I just like, I don't know how this happened. I really cannot fathom how like crazy Again, I just everything going into it. Literally, like the fact that it's her 21st birthday, she's probably hyped from the morning on to that, and then you have to like calm yourself and pitch the pitch that she pitched, and the fact that they didn't even hit the ball outside the infield until the 5th inning. Like it's just everything about that is just incredible and just wild to me. So, but yeah, that's what I had to say. Shocking.
Very deservedly, she was the SEC Pitcher of the Year, and then she ended up getting the tournament MVP as well. So. She really crushed
deserving.
it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to move forward a little bit more Alabama, but here we have Florida State. Florida State in the next round after Alabama played UCLA, Florida State and Alabama had to win 2. So Florida State had to beat Alabama 2 times because Alabama hadn't lost yet. So it's a wild tournament where there is a loser's bracket and you can fight your way back. It's incredible. So it was, I think it was the second round. Yes. So second round, we have Florida State and Alabama. Florida State had to beat 2 times Alabama. So here we had Florida State come back from the loser's bracket, beat Alabama to advance on to the championship game.
Wow.
And this is like, I think the stats are up, yes. So it was a big hitting game for Florida State. It was like huge because they hadn't been hitting like that. They finally came out of something. Like they were in a little bit of a funk there, and they were playing small ball most of the tournament, like bunting, slapping, like moving quickly, a lot of hit and runs, which you don't see a ton of in baseball compared to softball. Softball will do the hit and run a lot.
Gotcha.
I wanted to give a little shout out to Danny Morgan, who I briefly played softball with in high school. She is the center fielder for Florida State. I also oversaw her in our writing center when I was the lead tutor. But anyway, she hit 2 for 3 and scored both of FSU's run and their 2-0 win over to help eliminate Alabama. Like I said, Florida State was playing like smaller ball where they were just using movement. And they finally got runners on the bases, and they were just able to move them, which was great to see how that can be just as effective as like power hitting because they were so aggressive on the base paths. A lot of stealing and, like I said, hit and run situations. So it's a different style of play. There are a few different ways softball can be played, which is really interesting. A lot of times you will either see like a bigger team that will hit a lot of bombs, or you will see a smaller team that will bunt, slap, steal, and just kind of play in a quick game. So I don't know how familiar you are with slapping, but it is the left side. It's kind of a footing movement, and then they do like a bunt or a bunt hit on the run. So from the left-sided batter box, you're about 3 feet closer to the base. So they take that moving, and then they run the ball out. And it's super effective because the base paths are short enough to get on base.
I was going to say, not to sound funny, but that's for an example for people that maybe don't know what you're talking about. I'm assuming it's kind of like Ichiro. I don't know if you remember that baseball player, Ichiro, where he used to do the like running out of the box as he was hitting it kind of thing.
Keep his feet
like
moving.
That kind of, Yeah, that kind of style is what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what I'm imagining in my head, basically.
Kind of like that. They do have to keep their feet in the box, and if they don't, then it's a called out. But other than that, like it's a quick movement. You do see a lot of it's slappers place the ball onto like left field, like right behind the shortstop. They try not to hit it on the ground unless there's like a runner on a lot of the time, because if they're putting it down on the ground, they're like, oh, that's okay if this is an out. Like we're just trying to move the runner. You see a lot of that, but that's what Florida State was playing for a little bit. They do a lot more bunting than slapping. I'm not sure how many lefties they have on their team, but they did a lot of bunting. They did a lot of like short little base hits rather than the big hitting, until they met Oklahoma, which is the stat that we're looking up at here for the next round. This was, I believe it was yesterday's game. These are the stats of last night's game. I prepped this before they played tonight, so I don't have the stats from tonight. But this was FSU Oklahoma game 1. It was on June 8th. Florida State won 8-4. That's big hitting compared to how they were hitting. So it was a big movement up for them. They kind of came out of it. I was listening to SportsCenter, I think it was yesterday before the game. A commentator said that they see Florida State as a good team, but that they just don't have the talent of Oklahoma. And I was like, I can't believe that. Like, I completely disagree with the athleticism and the speed and the heart that Florida State was showing by playing like through this big hit drought and using the small movements of the ball to like move forward, rather than Oklahoma that has been hitting huge all year. It was just like, it's two different types of style of play, and to say that like one is more talented than the other, well, it really got me fired up. I thought it was more impressive that Florida State can bounce back when the hitting wasn't always there.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is like, it's with every sport, there's always different styles of play, and it's you live and die by your style. And it's like, yeah, for them to say like, the hitters of Oklahoma is too much for any team, let alone Florida State and playing smaller, it's ridiculous. Because I mean, you saw in the first game where basically Oklahoma just never could get it going hitting wise, and meanwhile Florida State did. So it's like one of those where it's, you can live and die by whatever strategy you have, but at the end of the day, if you're not hitting the ball, then that's not then you're gonna struggle. And if that's your strength, is hitting the ball deep and getting a lot of power and stuff like that, then yeah, and then you saw in game 2 where then that kind of switched, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so it's funny to see that where you don't really, like, people don't understand that like different strategies can work in different ways, and if your strategy is not going to work every single day, and that's all it takes. I mean, that's why we're in game 3 of the World Series now.
So I wrote this morning. I said that with the momentum and big hits of yesterday, I foresee Florida State taking the championship. So this was before I watched today's game. And I had written also, however, I would love to see Oklahoma take game 2, and then see a high stakes game 3, which is what we're about to get. I do have a little like recap of game 2 that happened today. And then I will answer this question with the series now being tied with who I have and why. We have here, I think, I have a picture of it, but we'll see if we get there. I have a picture of G. Juarez, who pitched for Oklahoma today. She is a freaking beast. You put her on that mound, I would be scared. She had like a killer arm injury. I think she played at Arizona State before transferring to Oklahoma, and she had like something in her arm where she was like, I heard it pop, and they weren't sure she'd ever pitch again, and she's out here pitching again. This is Oklahoma. G. Juarez was in the picture, but it's okay. She is a lefty. She only has 1 loss on the season. She, like I said, absolute beast. But the craziness is that she'll go from pitching high speed to like off speed pitches that are maybe 20 miles an hour slower, which is, and on top of that, she throws an off speed rise ball, which insane. So softball will you'll see like a rise ball. You'll see a rise ball. It's usually top speed. Your high velocity, usually you get a high pitch. But she throws a changeup that also rises. Can you imagine having to adjust to having something like 10, 15 miles per hour slower and also coming up? That's too much. You can't hit that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like, it's because that's like an incredible amount of control just in order for you to release, because it's all about the release point and when you're releasing then at that point. And so like the amount of control that she has to do that, yeah, it's like that's incredible to think, like, because I mean it's just you just catch you off guard every single pitch because you don't know if it's going to come in low and fast or high and fast, or if it's going to come in low and slow and high and slow in this case. So like, and being able to change that up, get momentum on the ball, yeah, it's, I can't imagine as a hitter in that situation having to just adjust on the fly like that to literally any pitch that could come in any direction at any speed.
So now we have a picture of G. She's got the magic glasses out there, but she pitched a good game, great game. The only thing is that in the first inning, Elizabeth Mason for Florida State hit a 2-run homer, and that just kind of set the pace of the game. It seemed like Florida State was going to take ahead and stay ahead. That was not the case. Catherine Sandercock had the start for Florida State. She was a redshirt sophomore. She was 27-3 so far for the season. Now she is 27-4. There was a solo home run by Johns of Oklahoma off Sandercock. It was a high pitch taken out to left field. It was the 158th home run for Oklahoma this year. That tied the record for the most insane a team has had in a year. I believe Hawaii might have been the team that had the record, but I'm not positive. Oklahoma took the lead. It was then 3-2 in the top of the sixth. There was a 2-run homer from Jocelyn Allo. That was the 159th team home run of the year, and that took the record. That was really, like, it was huge. It was like the third time through the order that Oklahoma definitely made the adjustments that they needed to. We saw Arnold come in for Florida State, but the Sooners hit off of her too. So they increased the score 5-2 in the sixth. There were no outs, and it was top of the seventh. Then after that, Oklahoma still teeing off 6-2. Another pitching change brought in Florida State's Emma Wilson, not Emma Watson. She had never seen a postseason game before. She hadn't even pitched since May 8th. So thinking about how many games that these women have played in the past 2 weeks, she hadn't even seen an inning since May 8th.
Yeah, that's a raw situation to be in.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So G. Juarez, who we see celebrating here, she closed out the game for Oklahoma. She pitched a good one. She pitched a winner. She was tired by the end. You could tell. I don't know what else Oklahoma has in their pitching staff, but like we saw earlier from James Madison, they will pitch 2 days in a row, 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row against the same team and still win. So I don't know if they'll bring her out again. I'm not sure what else they have in their staff, but we'll see. Game 3 is tomorrow. Oklahoma has avenged every loss that they've had this year with 2 wins.
I was gonna say I did see that stat, and that was like I was like, oh man, throwing it. Whenever ESPN does that, and they throw up a stat like that, I'm like, that doesn't. It's almost like a omen now. There, it's got to come true, and I saw that, and I was like, man, that's not looking good for Florida State.
Right. So going back to our chatter's question, who do I have? I have that personal connection to Florida State. I would love to see them win. I keep up with Danny online. I don't talk to her very often, but I'll keep an eye on what she's doing. And so that's my personal connection. I liked her when I knew her. She's a good person. I would like to see Florida State win, as she is in her 5th year and doesn't really have a shot again. So I think that would feel nice in my heart. However, Florida State won it 2 years ago, or 2 championships ago at least. And I don't know. I feel like I don't like Oklahoma just because it's almost like they get to play at home every year when they do make the tournament. So I think I would prefer to see Florida State win. That's who I want to win. I think that if Oklahoma comes out hitting like they have been, that it will be Oklahoma. I think there is a good chance that we see Oklahoma as our championship winners tomorrow. Anyway, Game 3 is tomorrow. It's at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Give it a watch. You know now, right? You know what you know, and it's a good game. I would keep up with it if you can.
Yeah, I was gonna say I will definitely try as hard as I can to tune in, with work and everything. But that is kind of a raw deal for them to get like a, kind of a non-prime time for, especially for Game 3 and a awesome, end of the sequence of the tournament and everything. So that kind of sucks. But yes, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to it, especially because at this point you've seen the path Florida State needs to win. You saw the path that Oklahoma needs to win in the second game. So it's almost like a which one's going to win out or which one's going to find it or, come on. And I think it's one of those where almost it sets the tone the first probably 2 innings for the rest of the game, because, if Oklahoma's not hitting well, then, I would assume that Florida State's probably going to come out on top. But if you start seeing Oklahoma in the first 2 innings putting up runs and hitting well, then I think that that's probably going to spell Oklahoma's path to winning. So it's interesting. And I definitely will be intrigued from start to finish to actually see.
Yeah, with what you said, like it depends on how Oklahoma's hitting, which depends on how Florida State is pitching. And they went through 3 pitchers tonight. So who knows who they'll see tomorrow? Who knows what's going to happen? I think they saved their other pitcher. I don't know her name, but not her. The one who hadn't seen game time since May 8th. I think she was just kind of let's see what we can do. But I think they do have like another ace. So we'll see if that happens tomorrow. If she comes out, if she performs, it'll be a game for sure. I really do encourage everybody who sees this to watch, because it'll be worth it.
Like I said, it's definitely, it was a lot more exciting than I ever knew it could be. And it's also, like you said, it's something that you don't see in even other sports where, for example, like in baseball, you don't see strategy being like a thing. Like it's more so just, who can hit better or who's the better team. Whereas like it's enjoyable to be able to watch a sport where, not only can a team get there based on just, size and strength, but a team can also get there based on running, a quicker, more strategic type of play, or rely on pitching versus relying on hitting. It's just fun to see that kind of dynamic in a sport when you don't really see it in others. So that was exciting for me. And then also just to watch it is, it's very fast paced, like you said. And there's also a lot of, like I said, that's why the perfect game blew my mind so much, because it's just watching how fast paced and how hard it is for a pitcher in that scenario. That was crazy. So I'm definitely exciting, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, that was everything I had. I want to extend my gratitude for having me on. I hope I taught someone about softball, and I hope maybe we'll have a couple more viewers. I think like after many years of watching not even just the World Series, but also just like watching softball in general, whenever I see it's on TV, I will click it on. My dream, my absolute dream, my softball dream is to go to the World Series. It is an incredible environment. Like these people are so into the game. They're all cheering. Like, yeah, some people will say, oh, they're doing little cheers, but like, whatever. Like, it's not like they're singing songs. They are out there. They're cheering for their teammates. You see them dancing for the camera. You see them having fun. And it's a fun game. It's not just like we're here for the sport. We're here to make money for our school. No, they're here for their passion. They're here for the game. And it's awesome to see it. And I would love to go. If anybody ever wants to go to the Women's College World Series, I will be there someday.
Listen, maybe one day we'll convince the other Dylan, and we'll run the podcast from live from the World Series. We'll just be there.
Well, thank you, Ranch Frosty. Thank you. I'll come back whenever there's anything for me out here. I will be on the pod.
Oh God, yeah. But that's thank you for all the education, because I definitely did not know nearly enough about the sport. So that was entertaining to be able to actually know what I'm going into when I'm watching it. So,
well, thank you for having me.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I guess I'll sit here and fill up the time. It's like I said, what I just to kind of recap everything, and I know I kind of talked about it before and everything, but man, like just the sport itself was just fun to watch because it was just so different. It's like watching, every when you're watching like basketball, and then you like suddenly randomly flip on like golf or something, or like or look a lacrosse competition or something, and you just like it catches you, or you just go like, man, this is actually like I need to watch more of this. It's entertaining. And I hope to next World Series know a lot more going into it and actually know like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm paying attention to. And then not only that, but to also like just understand how difficult it is and everything and appreciate the achievements that are going into it and all. It's a lot of fun and entertaining and something new that we just learned a ton about. And I'm like actually hyped for the game 3 tomorrow. I'm really actually disappointed that it's not going to be on like a prime time scheduled event or anything, but of course this is some like I said, we're not ignoring the fact that it is women's softball, so of course there's always going to be issues with that and everything and the lack of coverage, but I was actually very happy with the fact that there was a lot more coverage going on this year and everything, so that was great. Thank you, Tessa. And I think now we can welcome Dylan back on the podcast, as well as transition quickly into our next topic, which actually, before we do that, you have any thoughts on everything that was just said? Because I know you kind of weren't able to actually even give your 2 cents.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Tessa. I was saying I was just going to leave her on here to do it instead because she's going along with it much better than I would anyways and had a lot more information to actually provide. So I'm back to the dismay of everybody else watching, but I enjoyed that quite a bit, even though I was trying to make sure things weren't going to blow up in the background. And we only had a crash once, so it was really good. But I also learned a lot that I did not know, and the Tessa doesn't even get the opportunity to go through as much because I don't understand what she's saying about softball. But now I do a little bit more, and have a little bit more insight into some of the terms and everything. So that's fun. I've been watching the tournament anyways, and I'm going to continue to watch it with her as well. And I'm glad we get one more game post all of this to still follow up with instead of just being like aftermath and everything. So definitely want to make sure to get all this, at least get that one softball video up for tomorrow and get people hyped to watch that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad it came in between a series instead of afterwards or before or anything, because you're right in the thick of it. So I had a good time listening as well.
Yep. So.
And we'll have her back on.
Yes, we will as well. We can even recap the last game when that comes back. That goes by too.
That was our first trial for having a guest segment or a guest thing on. So we're gonna have a little bit of transitions and everything, and working on that part. So that was scraped together in the last couple of minutes because everything is always done live. There's very little done in pre-production. It's pretty much all done on the face of what you're seeing. So yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say what we have prepped is basically the topics, the pictures, and the rest is just let's roll with it, let's go. And that's this is what we're going for, Dylan. It's the authenticity of it. It's the realism. It's we're here to fail or to succeed for you.
Yep, and we're getting better every week and learning something new every day. So it's a fun learning experience. What I do like about this at a very surface level thing is a lot of the stuff I wouldn't come back to and spend the time on. I wouldn't get the opportunities to test on myself because streaming on your own isn't as fun and it's harder to do. But doing this every week gives me a reason to keep on coming back to looking up these topics, trying to look more into the technicalities behind it, and making these slight improvements day by day, week by week, and whatever. So it's a good learning thing. It's like its own little side course for me to go along with as well. So I like that part of it a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's fun. It's interesting because if we went back to even just like the first podcast that we did, the amount of just scary pauses that we had where neither of us just didn't know no, you talk. No, I'll talk. No, you talk. No, Dylan, no, you should talk. Just the amount of transitions, the actual flow and everything is so different. I mean, the podcast itself is basically unrecognizable from what it looked like at the beginning to what it is now. Like the fact that we're able to pull photos and everything without actually showing you the Google window of us searching this stuff live.
Yeah, it was super scuffed in the beginning, but it had really good roots for the start of it as well. and actually putting it together.
Listen, this all started because I just said to Dylan one day, we should make a podcast. And then it was one of those where we kind of like, we were like, yeah, we probably could. And then at one point it was like, no, let's actually just do that today. And then
tonight.
Here we are. Yeah, literally post drinking with all of our friends on our Zoom parties. Just suddenly we're just like, yeah, we're both really drunk. Let's just start a podcast and start talking.
I was like, I know how to do the basic parts of it, and it's like, let's pull up some Mac Jones footage and just go ahead and watch and review that. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest part, I think, too, about the beginnings of us is the fact that the first three podcasts, I had a microphone, but didn't know that I wasn't using it for the actual podcast, and instead it was the audio was picking up was from my computer, and that kills me. Like, to even think about the fact that like I had this literal mic just sitting here that was actually like, you know, supposed to pick up audio.
It looked good.
Not even capturing. Yeah. I had the static. You know, is like it looks legit, but it sounds like crap. And it's like, yeah, I sound like crap because I'm talking to a laptop that's like, a foot away from me. So that made me laugh when I realized, I'm like, I wonder why Dylan sounds clearer and louder than me. Maybe it's because I'm an idiot, which is always, I mean, that's usually the reason. So
sure.
That's just, that was great. So this is the humble beginnings coming to the learning process. It's been a lot of fun, even editing and stuff like that. It's been fun to learn and everything. And, coming up with titles, and now we're starting to actually get thumbnails going, which is just crazy, learning even those. It's just a lot of fun to actually do this and go through all this stuff. And then we learn, like, both of us enjoy sports, and we both are learning just new stuff as we go. And then being able to actually have an avenue where we can, like, I don't know, just express our thoughts to an audience, and it's fun and enjoyable. And obviously we hope it continues to grow. And like we said, in the future, we've talked a lot about like gaming stuff that we might do in the future too, and other things. So plenty of stuff that's going to happen and plenty of stuff that's going to come. It's just a learning process, and we're still going as we go.
Hashtag better every day. And also, I don't know if you saw on the side though, but also you have 28 subscribers. I would like to do a thanks for 30 type of thing, but it's currently at 28, and it's been going up even in the past week post everything else, so that's always cool to see. Also, if you're looking at analytics and stuff, we are over 2.1 thousand views in the past 28 days, and some of the videos that, again, we never really thought were going to gain traction continue to get like a couple hundred views a day, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, it's always cool to see that stuff, and I enjoy the analytics side of it quite a bit, and it gives you a lot to look at. It's very fun. Tessa enjoys analytics herself. She always comes over and is like, "So what happened? Like, can I see the graphs and stuff, and like see all the analytics on the side?" So that part's fun too.
It's so much fun to see all that stuff, and like, again, we're just we're very new to this, and like podcasts take time to take off, and like you learn, and you have to develop your own like groove and like how we do it and everything, and your own identity and stuff. So it's just fun because it's just like, it's not our main, we're doing this just because we actually enjoy doing it, and so that's the fun part about it. And then being able to actually just talk sports and like go through topics and like give our 2 cents, and like I said, just having like an actual avenue to be able to talk, and then people enjoy that avenue, which is great. And so that's, it's fun to keep learning and developing. And like I said, we have a lot of stuff that we want to do in the future, so that'll be coming as well. So,
and to get to converse with the wonderful YouTube comment community.
Oh,
with
great.
Those ones to come up.
Fantastic. Oh man. Yeah.
To be fair, I think we've eclipsed more positive comments than negative at this point, which is always impressive.
100%. It's just sometimes you get those comments that are like, yep, this is we knew this was going to come going in. It's like, this is going to be a comment.
The chud takes, we like to call those. Yeah. Those are the total chuds.
Yeah, and we're trying to like address them so that way there's like actual fan interaction, because a lot of times in social media and YouTube and everything and podcasts, there's a lot of times where there's like, you can just drop a comment and maybe they read it, maybe they don't, but you just drop the comment and then leave. Where it's one of those where like we've tried to like address it with like an actual conversation rather than just a straight up just like your comment sucks because you're wrong, like that kind of crap, Yeah. So it's been enjoyable to do that and see like the interactions and stuff, and like go back and forth with people is always fun, and that's like what I enjoy too out of it, is like being able to interact with people. So, and that's and that's part of the reason why we have the chat live, because as we get more and more people, we being able to see the chat and being able to actually like answer questions or interact and like live on the spot is a lot more fun, I think, than just like us just talking straight to the camera and doing nothing. So it's a lot nicer that way, and that's fun. And like I said, hope we're going to continue getting better and continue growing and continue going through new topics.
And in terms of talking and interacting with people, the Floyd Mayweather fight was a great chance to interact with people and also get different opinions on things. You could walk us through the logistics of it and basically what happened, if you would like, and your take on it first. Flip your notepad.
God, yeah, flip over the pad. It was just one of those where I just go, like, we all knew, like, going into this, everybody in the world had to know, okay, Mayweather is known for like outlasting opponents. The shoulder roll, the conditioning that he brings is just another level. It's otherworldly. And so you're just going like, okay, how long? Basically, this fight is, how long is Mayweather going to let this fight go? And it was funny because I saw a clip, and I know that we don't have it and we're not going to have it. That's okay. I'll just talk about it. I saw a clip where basically Mayweather like reacted and dodged a punch and then immediately struck with a right, and I swear to God he knocked out I swear to God he knocked him out, and then like Mayweather caught him and like held him, and then like Paul, like Logan, or which brother was it, Logan Paul, right? Logan like came to, and then like they continued the fight.
That's what chat is saying too. Fake fight. Floyd knocked him out and helped him up. Held him up.
I was gonna say, I watched that clip and I was like, man, this is really just like a Floyd is toying with him. How long can we keep this fight going? And it's hilarious to hear, like, because that's the other thing too, is like on this podcast, I'm gonna tell you just straight up like how it is, how I think it saw it and everything. That's why I'm like, listen, we saw that knockout, we saw it straight up go. It's hilarious watching sports, like people talk about it in like the media and be like I remember, I think I heard like, I think it was like Skip Bayless, which always, of course. Skip Bayless, just gonna say something stupid. I saw Skip Bayless say something like, oh, this hurts Mayweather's legacy, the fact that Paul lasted. I'm like, do you really think that do you really think that Mayweather like lost a step and that's why Logan Paul was able to go the distance? Or maybe, just maybe, do you think that Mayweather wanted to put on a good fight and let him last that long? Like, yeah, it's one of those where I just like watching the fight, I'm like, listen, it's like I didn't watch the actual fight live, but like I saw like all of the highlights and I watched like a good chunk of it, and it's one of those where like not only was it a hugging affair to like keep Logan Paul, to make him go the distance, but it was, like I said, I knew going into it, what to expect, which was basically, okay, how long is Mayweather going to let this go on? And then there was also the possibility of, well, if they want to do more of these fights in the future, Logan Paul has to seem pretty legit, which means Mayweather's got to let him seem legit. Mayweather could have knocked him out in the first round if he wanted to. Let's all just be straight up honest. If Mayweather actually was trying and was like, hey, this is a fight I'm going to win, he would have knocked him out in the first round and it would have been over. And then we would have been like, yeah, this is why celebrities can't just be like, hey, I'm going to box. So,
well, you saw his comments about like Mayweather was talking about like he didn't really care about legacy when everyone was like, oh, what's this going to mean for your legacy? And he was like, he basically said like legacy wasn't going to pay the bills, some version of that or whatever it was. And pretty much just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Like this is like a really, really generic, poor version of the McGregor fight. Because the McGregor fight, at least McGregor was like an all class, ridiculous UFC fighter. So, and he had boxing experience. So him jumping in the ring with Mayweather had a little bit more like, understanding that like this is more of a legit fight than, you may have thought. But then Logan Paul, it's like, dude, this guy, like, what did he knock? Didn't he knock out Nate Robinson, or what was the? What was?
I think
Logan
it was
Paul's,
Nate.
like,
oh, Nate, was it?
No, I think it was Jake Paul. I don't know.
Oh my God, they're both boxing, right?
Yeah, they both are boxing. Jake Paul's trying to get knocked out by some UFC fighter too. I can't. Like, it's just so stupid. The whole thing's dumb, and I understand that it's entertainment. It's literally entertainment. They know that. I mean, my favorite quote of the entire thing was basically Mayweather saying that he is the best at legal bank robbing. And I was like, that's an incredible quote and is 100% the truth. And I understand that that's the case, but my thing was listening to all of the announcers and all of the sports media tried to make it seem like the fight was like, wow, I can't believe Paul lasted that long. That's crazy. You got to take him seriously. And I'm like, no, I don't. I was like, I watched this dude get knocked out like 2 or 3 times in this fight, and then Mayweather hug him and hold him up and be like, listen, you got to wake up. We got to make money. Come on. Like, wake up, idiot. Like, this is, it's so stupid. I'm just not about that whole concept of like, it's Logan Paul went the distance. It's like, did he really? Like, in my notes for this, I literally put Logan went distance, but did he? Like, that was what my notes said, because I was like, no.
You're going to hate the point that I bring up, but I thought this was funny because on one of the shows that I was watching, they mentioned this, but in technicalities, and again, it's an exhibition match, so I understand a lot of that stuff doesn't apply, but apparently Jake Paul had more, he landed more hits, and basically as a result of that and how long they lasted, is that the tiebreaker? Like if you were counting it as a real match?
No, I don't think he had more hits, because I thought I remember seeing the percentages being like very low for Jake Paul. I know he had like more.
That might be right.
Took more shots.
Right. Yeah, that actually might be the case, or it might be right about that. There was something I guess was it really just that people were talking about the fact that he lasted basically meant that he won.
I mean, that was like the sheer, like, that was what was behind everybody's talk about this fight being legit, was the fact that he lasted that long. And I'm like, listen, Mayweather, the fight could last as long as Mayweather wanted. If it was 1 second, Mayweather would walk up and jack him in the face as hard as he could, and the fight would be over. If he wanted the fight to last 8 rounds, the fight lasted 8 rounds. That's how it goes. Like, I know it was Mayweather, like, basically deciding how he was going to do this. Like, I'm not, again, I've said this before, I'm not one of those people that thinks Mayweather is the greatest of all time. I don't. But what I do think is that he's one of the greatest of all time. And because of that, this is not even like a blip on his radar as far as fights. And so I just go, like, he was basically deciding how this is going to go. That's like going into the fight beforehand, I was like, okay, how long is Mayweather going to make this last?
Right.
And apparently the whole fight. That's apparently, yes, the whole fight. Mayweather literally was going to hold him up to make sure he made it.
The way I described it, as it seemed like a massive overcorrect to the last big exhibition fight, which was it with Jake Paul? The last one that everyone was all up in a ruckus about.
Yeah, was that the Ben Askren? I think it was Jake Paul over Ben Askren.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, because the Paul brothers literally are the same person to me at this point. But yeah, the same thing with that one where it ended so quickly and so disappointingly. They were like, okay, let's make this last a little bit longer, else people aren't going to pay the $50 pay-per-view anymore. And they were just let's go all 8 rounds. Go ahead.
Well, and let's be honest, it probably was predetermined that this was going to last as long as it possibly could, if not the whole thing. Because basically what they're trying to sell is, well, look, if Logan can last that long against Mayweather, what could he do against other fighters who are nowhere near as good as Mayweather? That's the conversation that every sports media is making right now. So that way, we can keep the cash flow and keep the money going and keep making more of these. So to me, as a person, I find it funny, and I find it's entertainment to the point where I just know that it's what it is. And because I know what it is, I'm fine with that aspect of it. I just don't enjoy the whole listening to the sports media go, man, he lasted that long. Wow, what an amazing fighter. And I go, like, come on, like, really? Like, do we have to play this song and dance? Like, can we just admit, like, it was a joke, and let's just enjoy it for the fact that it's more of like, I looked at it as more of a performance, like almost WWE. Like, nobody looks at wrestling and goes, wow, I can't believe he really learned how to wrestle well. Like, nobody looks at that and goes that way. Everybody goes, yeah, this is a performance. I'm enjoying the performance. That's why I'm not one of those people that'll ever shun anybody that enjoys wrestling, because I'm like, listen, I get that it's a performance, and that's fine. And you're enjoying the performance that you're watching, and they put on a good one. And that's why they make a ton of money. I just don't like when people start taking this seriously as if it's like a real fight. I'm like, listen, it's in the same ballpark. Nobody's arguing that wrestlers in WWE are legit good wrestlers. Like, You know, if you want to watch a good wrestler, go watch Khabib. That's not, we're not talking about that. So the fact that people are like, he went the distance is like, all right, dude, we know it's a performance. Just call it a performance and that you enjoyed the performance and then call it a day.
In which shout out to WWE in general, because the memes that were produced solely even from the 90s Attitude Era continue to perpetuate throughout social media. There was a meme for every place in WWE, and I think it was just ahead of its time and form and like that sort of form, because my God, if it was actually live and that level of usage right now, they'd be through the roof in terms of like social media. It'd be insane. So
the WWE I will never talk badly about. I will never talk badly about, pro wrestling, because it's for what it is. They know it's a performance and they put on a damn good one, and that's why people watch and that's why they get millions of dollars, and I'm fine with that. It's not for me, so I don't watch it, but I don't shit anybody that watches it, because I go, listen, I know they put on a good performance. It's just not for me. So you enjoy it and call it what it is, a performance. That's what this fight was. It's a performance. It's not an actual fight. Mayweather didn't meet a match and Logan Paul went the distance. Like, no. It was a performance. Mayweather decided, like, listen, you're going to end on your feet, whether I have to hold you up or not. And that's the way the fight went. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, financially successful. I think they both walked away with, what was it? Did Mayweather get 100 mil? 20 mil, something like that?
It was definitely not 100 mil, because that's a bit much, especially because the other fight one made like 75, but I guarantee he made in the ballpark of probably 10 to 30, I would assume.
God, so, yeah, that is insane.
I mean, it's still about. I'll take it. I mean, how much training did Mayweather actually have to do for this? I mean, he knew that Mayweather off the couch from retirement would beat Logan Paul in the first round. So the fact that he, how much training did he really have to do? He probably just had to like loosen up so that way he didn't like pull a muscle mid-fight. That's really what he was probably concerned about. He's probably just concerned, like, I just don't want to pull a hammy mid-fight because I hadn't trained.
So I just want to bring up that number. Actually, while it seems completely ridiculous, I think I'd seen it. It could be as much as 100 million, according to ScreenRant.com. They guarantee, Floyd's contract apparently guaranteed $10 million payout plus 50% of all PPV earnings. And Floyd estimated that he could set in to bring more than $100 million. It looked like the current numbers are about 4.6 million, 4.3 million pay-per-view purchases at $50 a purchase. Somebody else could do the math, but that's not that far off, and that is absolutely insane if he did anywhere close to the ballpark of that.
Well, because that's, I mean, if that's real, that's like what? Because, that's what, 20 million?
I think
$20 million off of pay-per-view?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's 200 million. That's $200 million off of pay-per-view.
Okay.
If that's true. So.
Wow, so even the low end is ridiculous.
To me, that doesn't feel right, though, because I'm pretty sure McGregor and them maybe they made more. But anyways, yeah, that's to me, those numbers right there suggest around 200 to 220 million made in pay-per-view buys, which means that he would be at around 100 to 120, which wouldn't surprise me, because Mayweather is not dumb. He's not going to go into a fight. There's a reason why the McGregor Mayweather fight, he made like 300 million. He's not going to walk into a fight without making enough money to put on the fight. So the
man gets the guaranteed on the table. I respect it. That's how you should approach that. That's
because, I mean, like, what are you going to say if you're Logan Paul? I mean, if you're Logan Paul, the only reason why this fight matters is because you got Mayweather. So, like, Mayweather knows that. So, like, if Mayweather makes 100 million and Logan Paul gets 5 million, Logan Paul got a free 5 million, because he never should have gotten that in the first place. So, if it was me, like, if somebody was like, hey, we need you to step in the ring with Mayweather, and just see how far you can go, and we'll pay you $5 million, and he's going to get like 120 of it, I'd be like, okay. Like,
yeah, really.
I wasn't going to make 5 million before you said that, and now, like, maybe I'll just wake up in the hospital, but I'll wake up in the hospital with $5 million, so who cares?
Yeah, absolutely nuts. Okay. I believe this was part of the learning session, so I want to learn before we move on to anything else, or my brain can be more fried.
I was going to say, we need to get this going before. So yeah, the 2020 Euros. So I have compiled a little bit of notes on the actual event. And then if you want to actually pull up the article. So we're going to learn about this together. If you want to pull up the article that I sent you in the email, and I don't know how you want to like put that on the screen, or we can just do it on the side if you want to. I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But essentially, the article kind of lays out literally everything about it, so that way we can kind of go through and determine what we want to learn. And then I also thought it would be fun, because we know nothing at this very moment, to pick our favorite team to win it all.
Okay.
And then however far they go, whoever's team makes it the furthest, or gets the most points. So if both teams don't make it out of the group, then whoever gets the most points will force the other person to take a shot of their choosing.
Okay.
Live
I
on
accept
the
the
next
terms
podcast.
of this agreement then.
This is just a fun little conversation. I thought would be great to just pick a team, and we have to disregard information that Danny told us, so we can't pick like France. That's not allowed.
Okay.
So
okay, well, good for you. I don't think I remember anything that Danny said, so this will be very easy for me to forget at this point. Go through it.
I'm disregarding. I'm throwing everything that he said to us out of our brain.
Okay.
Which actually, by the way, I think that's going to be most likely our next guest is going to be probably Danny, to bring on live to talk about this and teach us about what is happening and why it's important and why whatever is happening at that moment is crazy.
Now he's got a
that'll
lot to
be
live
fun.
up to, because he'll actually have to prepare notes and stuff after Tessa already came on and killed it.
Oh yeah.
So
I was gonna say, Tessa came on and acted as if podcasting was something that she does just for kicks.
Yeah.
So, and then here we are just trying to exist and
saunter our way through.
I think we just spawned the Tessa podcast, which is now like a new
competition, creating competition. Not the smartest move for an entrepreneur, but yes, absolutely.
Anyways, this is an article that I felt like we could go through together and learn together, like what are the Euros and everything about them. So this kind of goes through everything. So what is the Euros format, which is where we'll just immediately start out. So you can probably read that better than I can. So you go ahead and read that for me.
What is the Euro 2020 format? It is 6 groups of 4 teams that will play one another in the opening round, with the first and second place teams in each group advancing to the 16-team knockout round, and the remaining 4 berths in the round of 16 will go to the 4 best third place teams based on standing points. 3 points are awarded for a win, 1 for a draw, and none for a loss, with tiebreakers involving goals scored and goal differential involved or invoked if necessary.
Okay, so right off the bat, I know a little bit about groups. I know just very small, because I've seen it in the FIFA World Cup when I've watched in the past with the USA. So I know a little bit about that in the past, which is a very minimal knowledge. So that right there off the bat, I know groups are basically where they pair 4 teams together and they play a series of games against each other, and whoever has the most points wins that group and then makes it out of the group. And then in this case scenario, I guess 2 teams make it out of the group, and then a third place team, 3 of the third place teams out of the 6 groups, I think, will be able to also make it into the next round of the tournament. And then I think at that point, then it's basically single play elimination or something similar to that. So that's interesting. Didn't know that right off the bat is the third place. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was mostly just like whoever wins moves on, plus whoever second place moves on, kind of, so like almost, I didn't realize there was like almost a wild card format kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Cool to learn. Next we move on to, why is it still called the Euro? I guess the generic term, or like the casual fan term, is the Euros 2020. In this case, it's called the UEFA Euro, or the European Championship. And I guess it is played amongst majority of the European countries, and the majority of the countries that participate in those type of championships over there. So, right off the bat, didn't know there were some teams that weren't going to be included. As far, I think Danny had said Spain was one that wasn't included, if I remember correctly. So, certain teams, so, or maybe Spain is. I don't know. I don't remember. We're learning as we go. But either way, the games are going to be played. So it shows the next part of this, which is that the games will be played in 11 different cities: London, Rome, Munich, Baku. Oh God, try saying that. Whatever that city's name
Azerbaijan.
was. Thank you. St. Petersburg, Budapest, Seville, Spain, Bucharest, Amsterdam, Glasgow, and Copenhagen, which are wow. The fact that I was able to say some of those names straightforward, and this is like straight up just we don't know what we're talking about trying to. But
Yeah.
that's the point. We're learning. So we're learning even geography as we go. So that's where the Euros are being played. I guess they start next weekend, so that'll be basically what I do all weekend is watch the Euros. So that'll be
Right.
fun, at least all day. If you want to scroll down, I guess like you said, basically that means that one group will include 4 teams. Whereas the Euro final, apparently the semifinals and finals will be played at Wembley Stadium in London, which I do know that stadium, very famous. The final will be held July 11th after the semifinals, which are July 6th and 7th. So this goes all the way to July 11th. I didn't even know that. I thought it was a little bit shorter than that. I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense though if you think about any tournaments in the past, March Madness and stuff like that, that usually last, at least a full. I guess they do have to play the group games first to kind of decide who and makes it out of the group. So that makes sense to me. Didn't know that though.
Yeah.
Will there be fans? This is actually an interesting question. Not one that you would have asked in the past, but here we are in this new COVID world. So this is interesting actually. So I guess, and especially too, this actually blows my mind a little bit because this is played in multiple countries, which obviously are going to have different restrictions. So this is actually kind of crazy as far as buying tickets. I'm curious how that is. But Budapest so yes, stadiums will fill with varying degrees. Obviously, different countries have different rules as far as restrictions and everything. Budapest hopes to allow for full stadiums. St. Petersburg and Baku hope to have their stadiums at 50%. Other cities allowed as of late of May, Amsterdam at 25, nearly 14,000, and so on, with all of the varying degrees there. So that's interesting. That's something that I didn't even think about until literally just now with this article, is the fact that we would actually have that. So now we move on. And this is where we'll pick our teams, Dylan. What teams are in, and there's different groups. So looking at it, Group A, Italy, Turkey, Wales, Switzerland. Group B, Denmark, Finland, Belgium, Russia. Group C, Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria, North Macedonia. Group D, England, Croatia, Scotland, Czech Republic. Group E, Spain, Sweden, Poland, and Slovakia, as well as Group F, which is the crazy group in this whole thing, Hungary, Portugal, France, and Germany. Out of all of those groups and those teams, do you have any read or any beat on a team that you just off the dome right now feel, yeah, that's my team?
I looked straight at Croatia, honestly, just for cool name sounding. There's a side of me that wants to go with Poland to support my my Polish brethren, in that sort of way, but I don't know, in a completely unbiased take and having no knowledge of any of the teams except for the ones in Group F, which apparently is supposed to be the hardest one. I want to go and say Croatia as my, since it's a March Madness style tournament, anything can happen. I'm going to go with them.
All right, Dylan. My team, the one that jumped off the board, the screen, whatever you want to call it for me, is I'm going to go with, does that country even exist? Finland.
Okay.
And I'm joking because that's that like weird thing on the internet where it's like, have you ever met somebody from Finland? Do you know anybody that's Finnish? Well, then it doesn't exist. That's a like stupid conspiracy theory that exists. But I'm gonna go with Finland. I'm gonna go with them. That's my group. Group B right there. I mean, look, now that I say that and knowing my previous knowledge, I really don't like being in a group with Belgium. That does not make me happy. But you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna figure it out. And we're going to go from there.
You can't be wrong if you didn't know what was supposed to be right in the beginning.
Dylan, you cannot. I do want to point out that Dylan may not contact the other Danny.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. That's what I thought. Yeah, so I'm going Finland. You're going Croatia. That's our teams.
Yeah, I already picked. It's too late.
It's done. This is our teams. Whoever makes it the furthest, Dylan, or gets the most points if both teams don't make it out of the group, which probably going to be the case with both of us.
You don't know that though.
Listen, I just, again, now that I'm bringing in my own like little bit of knowledge that I do have, My group, I'm not happy about being in it with Belgium, so that's fantastic. I hate myself for that. Yours, I mean, you got England. Actually, I feel like that's a pretty
It's a healthy
reasonable
upset
group.
chance. That's what we're gonna call where
I
mine
was gonna
stands
say, I
at
feel
right
like
now.
yeah, and the reason why I say Group F is just like scary good is because obviously France is the favorite. Germany has been just so good for the last few years. Portugal is obviously Portugal with freaking Ronaldo, and it's just it's the way that group is going to be. Sorry for Hungary. I hope to God Hungary. I'm picking it right now. Hungary is going to make it out of that group somehow, some way. They're going to figure it out.
Yep.
So yeah, all that. Man, listen. I'm rolling with the Finns. Let's go.
Well, let's find out where do we start out with? Where does this actually begin at? What's the first match? So you can get a little bit of an idea of where you have to get out of.
Well, Dylan, it's funny that you ask, because here we go.
And by the way, our off-screen future guest correspondent picked Netherlands as the dark horse.
Oh shoot, are they in my
So
group?
just log in that now.
Oh, where group is that? What group is that? Scroll up, Dylan. I need to see which group
It's
they're
gonna
in.
be Group C.
Oh, they're not in my group. That's good. Oh, they're not in either of our groups. So we're okay. We're good.
Oh yeah, we're just fine.
We're good. Don't have to worry about that. All right, so I'm in group. Which group am I? C, I believe, and your group E.
Yep, Group C, and I'm in D.
Your group. No, I'm group B. You're group D.
Group B and D. Got it.
Okay, so B. Go to group. So group A, yeah, you can see those. Great, fantastic.
Nobody cares.
All right, so group B, we're gonna play Denmark first in Copenhagen. Okay, that feels winnable. All right.
Denmark,
June
yeah,
12th.
Denmark seems fine. No big deal.
Yeah, Denmark's a country that exists. We're probably gonna beat them.
Okay, and then you're playing Russia.
Ooh, play Russia. I feel like that could be another win actually.
And then
There we go.
Belgium.
But listen, if we show up and actually play in the game, I'll be happy. Oh man, that's a rough game to finish with. Wow, against Belgium.
4
Jeez.
days later too.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay, what are you? Let's see. Let's look at your group real quick, Dylan. So you got England to start out in London.
Okay.
I feel like that's not fair. Like that's just not even fair.
Okay. Just a little bit of home field advantage there. That should be fine. And
A little bit.
And then it looks like we're moving on to the Czech Republic in Glasgow. Okay, a noon game. That sounds pretty good for our team. Seems to be more of an afternoon type of team, which is good because they'll be playing Scotland next in Glasgow also at 3 p.m. On ESPN2. So I recognize a lot of those names compared to my Croatia, which you don't see in many places, which makes me a little bit nervous. But it's a good starting spot. I feel like these aren't unbeatable teams for us to get out of here, right? Like these aren't crazy to have to get out of here.
Dylan, I don't know how good they are, so I don't know. I can't tell you that. I don't know how good the Czech are.
No, the best part about this is that we can just make any prediction we want at this point, and then later on, after this weekend, or the next week or week and a half or whatever, we can come back and see how right we were, no matter what.
I can't wait to talk crap to you when you have to go play England the day after. The day after we get our first win.
It's a good thing to start out with your hardest opponent because it's good. It also serves as a warm up, and it also kind of like iron sharpens iron type of thing. And then we move on to scrubs in the Czech Republic, and then gear back up for a Scottish match in Glasgow. So I like the schedule personally.
Listen, I just the only thing I wish is that our team was in with France and Germany and Portugal, and we can just eliminate them early, so that way we get it out of the way, and we can just assert our dominance early.
Yeah,
make Mbappe cry because he's not on Finn, the Finns team. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
And Danny's saying off screen on our chat, England will choke, and it's inevitable. I like to hear that. That's good. It's early. There's lots of choking going on early, so I feel good about that.
In London though, it doesn't feel great. That's not a great starting game.
Sometimes you're lulled into a comfort spot when you're at home, so it's more of a chance for an upset, right? Because you think you have the upper hand, and you don't. So I like this. This is a good setup for me so far.
Listen, Dylan, I enjoy you talking yourself into a game that you don't.
Hey, they lost to Iceland in the last Euros. That's fact right there.
Is that Danny that just said that?
Yeah. So I like that.
Well, you can't pull that out of your.
These are just facts. I'm not saying anything wrong or anything cheating. I'm just using some historical knowledge that's there.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
that's good. We love
listen,
that.
the Finns are going to make it out of the group stage. That's all I got to say. So
A nation of 3,000 or 300,000 humans. Yeah, well, the best of the best, right? Sometimes they just show up. I mean, man, yeah,
right.
yours is gonna be rough. I'm just like to look
I don't
back
know what
at
you're
yours.
talking about, Dylan.
Group B, I
Dylan,
don't
we got
know.
Denmark. Who cares? Bring it on. And then we got, after Denmark, we got who do we got? Russia.
Yep.
Whatever.
And Belgium.
St. Petersburg. That's fine. You won't have to drive far after you lose. You can just drive right home. And then then we take on Belgium. And I just am I that worried about Belgium? Maybe a little bit.
They're
Maybe
looking good.
It makes me want to cry, but
Yeah. And then Danny says that Italy's being slept on. Italy's looks like their schedule's coming up. It's gonna be Turkey. Followed up by Switzerland a few days later in Rome. That's really cool to see as a place to play at. That's very cool.
That's some crap. They get back-to-back games in Rome.
When in Rome. Belgium is stacked. Oh no, that looks bad for you.
Dylan, I don't want to hear it.
He's saying Belgium's stacked. That's okay.
Yeah, I know Belgium's one of the better teams in the freaking thing. I didn't realize that when I selected the Finns. I don't want to talk about it. We're gonna make it out of the group stage.
Yep, you couldn't look ahead. It was you couldn't do that in the first place. So it's only best that's how we figured that out.
I believe in us.
And then just in reference to the rest of the teams too, you might as well look at the rest of the schedule. Poland, the Brethren team, Slovakia, and looks like they're going to be going Spain and then Sweden. Okay.
Ooh, Spain will be a tough one there.
Scary teams in order. Number 1, France. Number 2, Belgium. Wow, number 2. 3, Germany.
I don't feel good.
And 4,
I don't like that, Dylan. Dylan, you know what I smell? Upset.
I smell
upset of the
fear.
century.
Fear at best.
I smell confidence in our team.
And what I've been told is the bloodbath pool, Group F. I believe it is.
Yeah, this is just it's Hungary versus literally the powerhouses of football. So you have Germany, who's been amazing in the last 10 years, and then you have France, who's got Mbappe and just so many other stacked players, and just they're ridiculous. And then you got Portugal, Portugal, Cristiano, nothing nonchalant.
Yeah.
So
my question was, I don't know if Danny got to talking about this when we were talking about it in person, but why do all these powerhouses get swept into the same group?
Yeah, I don't know why that happened. I don't know if it's a voting thing or if that's I don't know. That's a good question. But while he's answering that, let's keep scrolling down. So we don't really care about that. We'll worry about the quarterfinals and the finals when we get there. When the Finns are going to play July 11th in London. Okay, good to know. Just kidding, Dylan. All right, so anyways,
says he's pretty sure it's random draws, which is an unbelievably bad stroke of luck for Hungary, which is just awesome.
Yeah, Hungary. Listen, Hungary is going to pull off there's going to be a massive upset. Hungary is going to beat, and it's going to be a shocker.
Yeah,
and they're gonna end with 3 points, and that's it. But you know what? It was a hard fought earned 3 points.
Yeah, and the best part is we don't even have to wait that long because it's going to start this Friday. Yeah, this Friday.
Yeah,
and that's the kickoff for everything. Do I get to watch my team first? Hold up.
No, I think my team's first, right?
It looks like the very first match.
So go to Group B.
Italy. Yeah, and then you're going to be
Group B is Finland and Denmark, and the 12th, which is Saturday at noon. And then we go to Group D because that's where you are.
Yep, and then on June 13th.
13th at 9 a.m. Wow, you got a 9 a.m. game. What a loser.
He says it always happens in these tournaments where one group is 3 teams that all should make it out. And Italy, Turkey's first, the only game on Friday. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, good. We don't have to wait very long for this then.
Yep. All right, so that was 2 Americans that don't know anything about the Euros learning about the Euros, which is always entertaining and always fun. And I will be just watching Finnish soccer like I've never watched it before. Finnish football, I should say. Like I've never watched it before. And I may have to buy a kit. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to get one.
Finn fan till you die, am I right?
Yeah.
Never would have
That's
known
what it's
it.
gonna be.
All right.
So
Well, that was the Euros, and we're gonna be looking at those, and then
keeping
this.
into the same conversation, so to speak, around football. USA won the CONCACAF. I feel like that was actually the best. That was probably the best pronunciation I've had all night.
We need to Google Translate out here to sound our way through that word.
There we go. Nailed it. CONCACAF. Third time's the charm, baby. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
We learned. We're not stupid. Maybe we are, but CONCACAF, right? Yeah, woo, we won that. That's pretty cool. It was the first time we've ever done it. I sound like I'm joking, but I'm actually being serious. No, it is really cool that we actually won it because it's the first time that we've done it, and we beat Mexico, which has been a rivalry because we always play in the CONCACAF. CONCACAF. Yeah, CONCACAF. Dang it, okay. I was so freaking close. I felt really good with the CONCACAF. Now I don't. Dang it. Fourth time. Here we go.
Oh wow.
1 for 400, batting 250. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so the CONCACAF or CONCACAF.
Right. Cut it.
It's getting worse. Dylan is.
Cut it and move on. Yep. Don't worry, we can edit that out in post.
I'm glad that we won. So, kind of recapping what actually happened and what got us there. Gio Reyna scored the first equalizer to basically make it 1-1, and then from there, Weston McKennie, who I guess is a young talent for Juventus, who I didn't even really know too much about up until this match. And after hearing about him and basically how he's an up-and-coming talent for them, I'm intrigued to just kind of see where his career goes. He's only 24 years old, so obviously plenty of career ahead of him. He actually got it with a beautiful header to kind of send it to extra time. Then in extra time, Christian Pulisic, who is a big name that you probably have heard, he's basically kind of the biggest star as far as USA soccer goes at the moment, most recognizable star. He plays for Chelsea, who just won the Champions League this year. He was the first American to ever play in a Champions League, and so that was pretty huge. He played in this match and ended up with a PK at about the 114th minute, I believe, if I remember correctly. He ended up nailing that PK, stone cold. The goalie guessed even the right side, but he just drilled it straight up into the corner of the net. So it was just, one of those shots that was just confident, knew where he was going and nailed it. And so that was awesome to see. And then not only that, but backup goalie Ethan Horvath, who came in substitute for the starter, had a ridiculous save at like literally the 124th minute, 125th minute of the match, like literally the very end of the match. There was a PK awarded to Mexico via a handball that occurred within the box. And then from there, Ethan guessed right and saved the freaking whole game for the USA team, and to just come that big on as a backup goalie in such a massive stage is huge for him. And it was just awesome. It was fun. It was so much cool. It was so cool to see, and especially with the disappointment that we had in the previous World Cup, not even qualifying. It was kind of a letdown and an embarrassment for USA Soccer. So for us to kind of bounce back like that and get this win is huge. And there's going to be a lot more excitement going into the next World Cup final, being able to see, or FIFA World Cup, to see USA and what they could do now that they've kind of licked their wounds and come back to, hopefully produce like they should. And it's one of those where if we want to become, a bigger name in soccer as far as the men's go, we need to step it up in our production, and players like Christian Pulisic are the guys that need to step it up. So for Christian Pulisic and that whole team to step it up, and guys like McKennie and Horvath to really, take a moment in stride and play as well as they did was awesome. And really, it was one of those where you bring a lot more excitement back to the sport that was kind of lost a little bit after not qualifying and being basically an embarrassment and disappointment previously. So it was awesome to see. I don't know if you were able to catch any of it or see any highlights or anything, but it was really, really fun to see and really great for the USA men's team.
Yeah. So my question was, where is the next step basically in terms of how the tournaments work, how basically what is next from this? Because I see they played today and beat Costa Rica, I believe. I was just
Yeah.
checking up on the side.
So I'm probably not the best person to answer this, obviously, and this is why we'll bring Danny on and he'll explain more at some point. Yeah, that was just a friendly. So in football, for I know at least this much. I know friendlies basically are where teams agree to play each other. It's basically an expedition. Think of it as like preseason NFL, but like if two teams just agreed to play each other like before preseason, that would be how it is. So teams usually try sets out. They try different substitutions. I think if I remember correctly, Danny said that you can substitute usually unlimited. So normal matches in competitive play, you can only make 3 substitutes over the course of the match. I believe in friendlies you can make as many as you want if it's predetermined. So it allows you to try different sets, try different formations, and kind of get a chemistry going amongst teams. So this wasn't really a big deal. I know that tournaments kind of run throughout the year and throughout the entire play. Obviously, the Euros occurring right now kind of puts other tournaments out of the version. Yeah, so the Americans version of Euros will be built later in the summer. Okay, so yeah, so it's one of those where called the Gold Cup. So it's one of those where we aren't participating in the Euros because it's the Euros. And while the Euros are going on, a lot of obviously all the best players that play for those countries are there and not playing elsewhere. You kind of everything's everywhere else is a little bit of at a hold almost until the Euros are over. So, and then like you said, we'll look forward to the Gold Cup next. So that's really what we're striving for next.
Okay, got it. Cool.
So,
and to pivot back a little bit, because apparently I skipped this one, I did not see it exactly. But the odds to win the tournament, I'm actually glad we didn't look at this beforehand, because this would have put bias in our team, so we would have selected. Maybe that was a little bit subconscious in that. But France at plus 450, England at plus 500, Belgium at plus 600, Spain at 800, Germany 800, Portugal 800 as well.
I'm really glad that I picked a team that's in such an easy competition. I mean, we should just take care of all the teams in our group.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's this team called Belgium that's pretty good in their group. Not really worried about them. It's one of those where
they're small time.
Kind of roll on through, play the next team. Next man up. Who cares?
Yeah.
But no, for real though, that is kind of scary. And I really straight up did not notice Belgium when I actually picked Finland. I was like, yeah, Finland's my team. And then we looked at the group together and I saw Belgium and I just went, well, that was a decision and I now have to live with it. And here we are.
Teemu Pukki all the way. That was the best pronunciation of that. And I'm going to be down with that because that name's pretty cool too.
Man, can we just clip me and you trying to pronounce any of these names? And
if it ever becomes a big thing in the future, someone we don't have to pay for will do that for fun, just to clown on us. So I'm going to rely on that in the historical footage.
When me and you and this podcast become big, there's gonna be a compilation out there of just all the errors. And it's gonna start with me trying to pronounce CONCACAF.
Concavity. Concaf.
I love that I said it so confidently with CONCACAF. I was like, yeah, that's it. And then Danny's just like, actually, it's CONCACAF. And I was like,
yeah,
dang it. So close.
Teemu Pukki is your man to watch. So if you want someone to look up, do some research on, and to root for, apparently you got your guy. Danny, if you can give me someone for Croatia, similarly to root for, that'd be great. I need someone. I need my MVP to watch out for, to look for in the future.
Yeah.
Right, and in terms of you have a lot of good ones. Okay, cool. That sounds like it's gonna be fun for me to watch then.
Oh, Modric, get out of here.
Modric.
I forgot.
Here, let's do this. Luka Modric, Ivan Perisic, Ante.
That's not terrible.
Rebic.
Oh boy.
These aren't like super long ones, so there's not a lot of places to
sad
fall apart on.
Sad part is Danny could be coming up with these names. We don't even know.
For real. Mislav Orsic.
I know Modric. I know that name at least.
The next ones are just going to be Lord of the Rings names. Just Star Trek random ones that are just pulled out at this point.
You're just gonna randomly see Gandalf Skywalker.
Yeah, Gandalf.
That's the striker.
Gandalf Skywalker. And Andre Kramaric or Kramaric. Wonder which one it is.
It's probably neither of those. I like that you narrowed it down too. Yeah, it's either that or that.
It's definitely one of these for sure. There's no other way
One
I'm
of these
wrong
two.
about this.
Wow.
That's great.
Look at us Americans just showing why we're Americans.
That's at least
God.
5, so those are really good ones to come off of in the first place.
Well, I got all I need is 1. So it's all I'm hearing.
Yeah,
All I'm
Croatia's
hearing is
sleeper is what I'm hearing. Sleeper pick.
all right.
Okay, in terms of the NBA, we'll do a
boy.
couple of brief segments here because obviously they're still going on, and it's always fun to clown on the Bucks for being chokers in the playoffs, which is my take and hilarious.
God.
So,
Danny, and this is what I'm going to say right here is Giannis needs to learn how to shoot the ball. For the love of God, just learn how to like shoot consistently because it's just not working. Well, I mean, he shot like what he was like 2 for 6, like 12 or something, 2 for 10 or something, and he scored 26 points. Like you can't just dribble down the lane and expect that to be your entire like point total. Just make something happen. Hit your mid-range shot consistently. Do something to help the team other than drive because it's not working and it hasn't worked. And then the best scoring option that anybody trusts to make a shot is Chris Middleton. And listen, Chris Middleton's a good player, but he's not good enough to be the guy that makes, any shot that you need. It's not that shouldn't be how it is. So it's one of those where it's not surprising. Here we are, the Bucks doing what the Bucks always do, which is underperform, and they never can do it in the big stage. They never can compete. And part of the reason why is because I love Giannis. I have his jersey in my closet. I love Giannis. He's a great player. He just does not have the shooting capabilities to carry a team far enough. Like he's like the reason why LeBron was able to carry a team is because LeBron had a mid-range shot before he had a 3-point shot. He had a mid-range shot at least. And then he also could take over a game with his drives and everything. Giannis just can't hit the mid-range enough. So guess what? You can't hit the mid-range, you become very one-dimensional. And when you're one-dimensional, it's a lot easier to stop you when you start getting further in the playoffs and you start playing teams that, are able to cover that and everything and able to defend against that. And this is what's happened with the Bucks. And the Nets, I mean, what do we say about the Nets? The Nets are ridiculous. The Nets are as good as advertised. They're unbelievable.
playing
and
without Harden still.
Yeah, without Harden, which is just absurd. And like I said, that's the whole crazy part about this team is that the one superstar goes down and then you've got 2 more. So like, who cares? It's one of those where the Nets are going to be there at the very end. They're going to be in the championship. I don't care who goes up against them. The 76ers, which I don't know if we'll talk about them later, but
I think we might have something on them.
So yeah, we'll talk a little bit later. It doesn't matter. The Nets are going to make it out of they're going to make it out of the East. And I think the West is way more enjoyable at this point because there's a couple teams that could make it out that we'll talk about. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's depressing. It's sad watching the Bucks just never reach their potential and never be good. And they got Drew Holiday this offseason, and everybody was like, maybe that's the piece. Maybe that's what they needed is to get another, another guard who can, defend and, make a couple shots here and there. And it's not, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're only as good as your best player, and your best player just can't shoot the ball. So that's always going to restrict you regardless of how good you are as a team. And that's what we're seeing and I know they're running against the Nets, and I know the Nets are as good as they are, but I mean, come on, losing by nearly 40 points is not, you're not going to win anything with that. You're not going to, win anybody over with that. Nobody's going to be like, wow, I can't believe they're like, well, the Bucks are trying their best. It's like, no, the Bucks are not trying their best because the Bucks are failing just like they always have in the past.
Regular season champions. And I don't know this, at this point, has Giannis re-signed? Like, is he on his Supermax now? I forgot. Has that drama already been settled from last season? Okay.
Yeah, I believe he's on his Supermax.
Okay, so he's signed his soul over to live there now. Okay, I got it. Just wanted to be sure about that part.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get all the money from the Supermax, and he's gonna have a really crazy career with a bunch of. It's a Russell Westbrook part 2. Really what it is. It's Russell Westbrook with all the crazy, make a lot of money, a lot of crazy stats, triple double. It's amazing. Whoa, never win a championship.
Damian Lillard currently also that part 2.
Yeah, but Damian Lillard's better than Giannis and Westbrook. Damian Lillard is a superstar who, I mean, they like I said, if I had to pick somebody to make a shot to win a game, like if I needed a 3 to win the game or even just a jump shot, I'm like picking Steph Curry or Damian Lillard right now, because those are the two people that are consistently hitting clutch shots. Damian Lillard at times is basically carrying the Trailblazers to be better than they actually are. And that's why, honestly, I heard that the Clippers, which we'll talk about, actually, fun little transition right
Glad
here,
you
Dylan.
mentioned
Look at
that.
this. The Clippers, somebody said that the Clippers basically believe that they'll be able to get Damian Lillard this offseason, or they'll be able to potentially get him this offseason, which would be wild because he would actually go to a team like the Clippers is the place for a player like Damian Lillard to go to, because the Clippers desperately need the guy. Like, they need a guy. Paul George, I love you, Paul George. He's not a number one. He's not an alpha. He's not going to be the guy that leads your team. Kawhi Leonard, love Kawhi Leonard. Great player. One of the better players in the entire league. Not an alpha. Not an alpha. He just isn't. Even when he was on the Raptors, it wasn't really, Lowry was there. They had, people that were voices and leaders of the team. Kawhi Leonard, he's going to show up and he's going to play extremely well. He's going to score. He's going to defend. He's going to play one of the best two-way players, in the league and maybe ever. That's the way he's going to be. He's not a leader. He's not going to ignite the team. He's not going to carry them, put them on their back, nothing like that. And that's what you got, is you got two, basically, neither of them are alphas. That's why you freaking see Morris in this picture with them, because Morris is more of an alpha than these two. So that's the problem, is they just don't have. If Damian Lillard went to this Clippers team, I'm picking them to win the championship. And the reason why is because Damian Lillard immediately becomes the alpha that they need, and the guy that can make the shot at the end of the game that they need. Gotcha. Like, it's literally like, the Nets are a whole different breed, because Kyrie's shown that he can make the shot at the end of the game. James Harden's shown that he can make the shot at the end of the game. Kevin Durant's shown that he can make the shot at the end of the game. Whereas you go to the other side, the Clippers, literally nobody has, like, Kawhi Leonard's made the shot at the end of games, but he's not the alpha dominant guy that's going to take over a series, and he never has been. Neither is Paul George. They're both fantastic two-way players in the league. They're not alphas. So if Damian Lillard goes to the Clippers somehow this offseason, if they're able to figure out a way to get him and pull him away from Portland, my God, I would love for that, because that would be immediately, I would want to see the Nets versus the Clippers in the the championship in the finals. And I don't even care literally about any other team. I don't even care about the Bulls at that point. I literally would only care about that matchup.
No, that would be fun for sure. That would be something to look out for. And that then it brings us to the other NBA series that's going on right now.
Yeah, so the 76ers evened up the series last game. They actually decided to defend Trae Young. And surprise, surprise, when you're able to defend Trae Young and you're the better team, you end up winning the game. That's how it goes. They are the better team. The 76ers are better than the Atlanta Hawks at this moment. The Atlanta Hawks, don't get me wrong, are a super talented, up-and-coming, very young team, so they're going to make a lot of noise in the future, but they're not a better team at this moment. So the better team should win out, and that's why I wasn't really surprised that the Hawks shocked them in the first game, because I've seen that plenty of times in the NBA. That's how it always goes. In the first game of the NBA, in a lot of series, teams will shock the other team. I've seen it as a Bulls fan with, the Miami Heat teams back in the day when the Bulls would take game one. Like, I remember when Nate Robinson, the Chicago legend, season with us and was literally like a legend in the city because of how great he is. And I love Nate Robinson. He's one of my favorite players, but he won the first playoff game, I believe, if I remember correctly, against the Heat, and everybody was like, wow, the Bulls might actually be a thing. And then I think we lost that series 5-1, or 4-1. So it's one of those where I'm not surprised that Atlanta pulled the first game out. They're going to win a second game for sure. I think the 76ers are going to win the series 4-2 and 6. So I'm not surprised if, the Atlanta Hawks figure out to win one of the next couple games here. But I do think that the 76ers are going to win the series in 6. And because they're the better team. And I think that once they started caring about actually guarding Trae Young well, that's when the whole tide changed. And that's why they were able to perform last game. And yeah, Joel Embiid obviously scoring 40 points doesn't hurt you. So... But the 76ers, though, unfortunately, are a team, in my opinion, that they're good enough to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But the moment they go up against the Nets are going to run the floor with them, because at the end of the day, the 76ers don't have enough people to make shots consistently from 3-point to keep up with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, just relentlessly scoring, along with all the complementary players on that team to go with them. So the Nets are going to make it out. I think if the 76ers win this series in 6, like I think they're going to, I would expect them to go against the Nets, and I'd expect that series to end 5 or 4-1. I would expect it to go 5 games. 76ers pull 1 game out, maybe at home, and then the Nets basically wipe the floor with them the rest of the 4. So that's what I would expect, and then I expect the Nets to be in the finals.
Gotcha.
So
okay. And also on the side, going back, Hydradecki, I believe, is a Finland goalie. But guess what? Croatia lost to France in the World Cup final, apparently. So I unknowingly picked a decent team, maybe not a dark horse, but a decent team. So
Dylan,
that's cool.
I cannot wait for Croatia to not win a single game and Finland to just somehow Finland's going to beat Belgium and it's going to shock the world. I'm ready for it and I can't wait.
We'll see. It's all up to what happens, in the tournament.
Yep.
How it goes.
So.
And
all right,
Jokic.
Over to Jokic. Jokic, by the way.
Jokic. Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, you're right. You're so good at pronouncing things.
Dylan, we have to at least get this right. Because we butchered the rest of the night.
Okay.
So Jokic wins the MVP. No surprise, considering if you pay attention to our channel or you watch our videos, we had literally this video where I said Jokic is going to be the MVP of the league. And that's not like a hot take. Like, I'm not like blowing you away with a shocking take, but I was like, listen, Jokic is going to be the MVP. That's the way it is. And guess what? He's the MVP. The crazy part about it, though, bunch of things came out of this that I thought was wild as far as this stats go and fun little facts. So Jokic is the lowest pick ever to win the MVP at number 41. He's the only second round pick to win the MVP trophy as well.
Oh.
He's also the first Denver Nugget to win the MVP trophy, so the first of his team. He's also the 6th foreign-born player to win. The other 5 to win that are foreign-born were Tim Duncan, who I believe is from the Virgin Islands, Steve Nash from Canada, Dirk Nowitzki. I believe Dirk is from Germany, if I remember correctly. And then I believe Olajuwon. I can't remember where Olajuwon's from. And that's what, 5, right? Who am I missing? Who's the other one?
Not sure.
Off the top of my head, can't remember. But anyways, yeah. So he's the 6th foreign-born player to win. He's also the first center to win the MVP trophy since Shaq in the year 2000. So 21 years since the center has won it. Centers slowly have been almost phased out almost completely in the whole league for a while there with the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors were running sets with Draymond Green at center, and he was literally 6'7". So for the fact that a 7-foot center who's so integral in the entire system that they run at Denver, I mean, so another crazy fact, he led the league in touches/passes for his team. So in the entire league, he's the one that touches the ball the most or passed the ball the most. So basically the offense ran through him and his team shot 52% on passes from him. So
wow.
Not only did he run the offense through him, but he ran it successfully through him. And that's why the Denver Nuggets are as good as they are right now. And they have a lot of young talent too going forward. So, and then also, by the way, little shout outs, the man who drafted Jokic and saw the talent in Jokic runs the Chicago Bulls now. So, there's that. Just throwing it out there as the hope. So just crazy. And then another fact that I thought was wild too, Jokic played all 72 games this year. Because the season was only 72 games. He played and started all 72 games. The last MVP winner to play all of the games in the season that they won the MVP trophy was 2007-2008 Kobe, which is no surprise there.
And then I'm guessing you're going to go into the next thing with Kobe.
The next thing with Kobe.
Oh, so I believe the last challenge or one of the last challenges that Kobe gave to Jokic was to win MVP. And he did.
Ooh, look at that.
So yeah, I pay
awesome.
attention to some things in the background.
There you go, Dylan. Learn something every day. Teaching me. So yeah. So it's awesome to see him win it. It's awesome to see a center win it. It's awesome to see a foreign-born player win it because it does a lot for the sport worldwide and internationally. It's also great to see a guy who's just a good all-around player. And, it's not the flashy pick, but it's the pick that was most deserving. And it's not surprising that he won. And honestly, his team, part of the reason why they're where they are is because of him. So it's great to see that. And yeah, so it's awesome for him to win it. He's also now eligible for the Supermax deal, which you see the numbers on the screen, is quite a lot of money. So the fact that he won the MVP trophy, not only is it winning the MVP trophy important for any player's popularity as well as any player's just legacy, but it's also important for the fact that his pocket is now going to burn plenty of holes with the amount of money that's going to be in there because of the Supermax deal. And dude, it's
NBA
wild.
money in general is disgusting. It's
crazy.
Unbelievable. I can't believe that.
I mean, it's wild because they're like the second most popular sport in the entire world. So there's that. But
it's also like the concentration of talent and everything. You don't have that many players to actually, like give the bills to, as opposed to like an NFL team. But my God, that's an insane amount of money to allocate to one person. Obviously, that person is MVP and they're worthy of it, yada yada yada. But wow, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. 241 million over 5 years. And the other thing too, by the way, that
guaranteed,
you probably
right? Guaranteed, fully guaranteed, right? NBA contract.
I believe NBA contracts are fully guaranteed. So
wow,
it's absurd. Yeah, it's great. The NBA knows how to do this. The NBA CBAs usually they know how to do their contracts and money and everything, and it's fantastic. Which actually, by the way, I didn't know if you know this, and I don't know if other people that are listening pay attention to basketball enough to know this too. Do you know why the Supermax deal was actually created?
No.
So the Supermax deal was actually created in order to keep players in their home or their home team or their original team.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because if you decide to sign with a different team, the max contract that you can sign, it's a lot lower than the Supermax deal or even just the max deal you could sign as your own. And you can only sign 4 years. Whereas if you go with your own team, the one that you're currently on, and re-sign, you can sign up to 5 years then, so you get an extra year on the end of your contract, which again, of course, is more guaranteed money. And you get larger deals like this right here, where you get the Supermax deal, now eligible because of the MVP trophy. So the NBA basically developed that in order to kind of limit player or try to deter player mobility, considering it was going to get a little wild there for a bit where literally everybody was just going wherever they wanted. And forming super teams, and you kind of get it a little bit with the Nets, but those were all unrestricted free agents that were able to sign, so it's okay. Well, in trades too, so that's okay. That's understandable the way that those super teams were formed. But that's what they tried to do with the Supermax deal, is basically keep players in their original teams, so that way small market teams have an ability to keep big name players and keep the money flowing.
Yeah, just give them a chance at that point. You got to compete with sponsorships. You got to compete with, sponsorships literally out to just living in the city itself, income tax deals across different states. There's so much stuff that goes into it that makes sense that they tried to at least address it. So that's a good thing to see.
And because the show is the show, we go to transition from talking up Jokic and how great he is to then showing him in this graphic. That's the head of a mountain that the Suns are just destroying right now, because the Suns just won. For anybody that doesn't know, live, the game just finished a little bit ago. The Suns blew out the Nuggets in game 2 and are now up 2-0 in the series. And I'm not surprised the Suns are doing this, because to me, the Suns have kind of felt like a magical team. And what I mean by magical is, if you're a sports fan and you pay attention enough to kind of, you watch teams, there's a weird magical feeling that you kind of get with teams. And with the Suns, I kind of have that. And what I mean by magical is usually those teams that you have this magical feeling about are teams that are like, yeah, there's just something about them. Like they're succeeding. They're covered in the media a lot, but they're also succeeding at a higher rate than maybe they would have thought. And so it's those teams that are just having a magical year where things are going their way. Calls are going their way, balls are rolling their way, just everything. And then the Suns, to me, feel like that team right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns are the team that make it out of the West. There's a lot of good teams in the West, and I wouldn't still, be surprised if they didn't make it, but I do think that they're going to be. So if I had to pick today, I think the Suns are going to play the Nets in the finals, and I think the Nets win probably in 5. I think it's going to be a pretty ridiculous finals where I think the Nets are going to be pretty one-sided, because I think the Nets are just unstoppable at this point. and I don't think that the Suns are going to be able to. But I do like that the Suns are actually. I mean, the Suns went from having the number 1 overall pick again because of how bad they were to suddenly end up being as good as they are, and they did need point guard help. That was the big thing. They had Ricky Rubio, he just didn't do it for them. They end up signing Chris Paul, who can who's been healthy this year and playing really well this year, and that's been huge for them. And speaking of money, Chris Paul is about to get his. He's expected to turn down his $44 million player option in order to sign a 3-year, $110 million contract. So
that's crazy too, because
he's 34 years old.
I know. I thought at this time, what is it? I mean, like before the season, last year, whatever you want to call it, I thought the consensus was Chris Paul was often injured on his way out, like down and out, like he's going to lock into that contract because that's going to be, a steal in the bag for him. But now that he's exiting that contract and looking to re-sign for more and leading like a surging Suns team, that's quite a big of a turnaround. So
well, it's because he couldn't stay healthy is really what it was. Is he just couldn't stay healthy. We all knew he was a great point guard. He's one of the best of all time. And, he's one of the best players of all time to never win a championship kind of thing. So you always knew that he was good. It's just he never could stay healthy enough to produce, well enough to earn the contract that he was being paid. So that's why teams were like, I don't really want to give him that contract. Suns took a chance on him because they desperately needed a point guard. And it was one of those where really they just needed a veteran point guard to come in, play well, but also distribute the ball and kind of build that offense up. That was kind of young, and it's Devin Booker is 23 years old, I think, or 22 years old. DeAndre Ayton's only like 19, 20 years old. So like teams super young, they needed a veteran point guard to come in and run the offense well and also produce at a high level. And they got that in Chris Paul, who might have been injury prone, but this year he's found a way to stay pretty healthy, and the team's doing amazing. And like I said, they feel like a magical team this year where I really can see them making it out of the West. So,
yeah. Okay. And into something that I was also following very closely as well, NFL news. And the biggest NFL story, well, at least at the time when we wrote the plan for this, was Julio Jones being traded to the Titans for a 2nd-round pick and smaller picks, I think including a 4th-round pick. And I'm not sure if there's anything else in addition to that, but basically a little bit more than Mohamed Sanu was traded for less than 2 years ago now. So put that in perspective.
Yeah, and people were like, a 2nd-round pick is pretty good still, and a 4th-round pick, that's 2 picks. And I'm like, listen, this is Julio Jones. If Julio Jones is able to play like Julio Jones, this is worth every single pick in the entire draft, basically. And I will say, there's a couple things. So one, the amount that they had to get for him, not that crazy. I'm totally okay with it. I think that, again, people need to realize it's Julio frickin' Jones. He's a game changer. Because people don't realize that, like, your run game was ridiculous and AJ Brown was ridiculous, but now you have AJ Brown AJ Brown had to play against the best corner of the other team. Now he doesn't. So now he's not. And Julio now has to play against the best corner. And now, as a defense, who do you double team? Do you double team AJ Brown? Do you double team Julio Jones? I don't know. Because then the other problem is you also have a guy who's literally larger than your middle linebacker who can run you over. So, the question is, who do you go to? And, it's always like if you have a really good run game, it opens up things for your passing game. Well, that was the case last year with a team that didn't have Julio. And now it's the case with a team that has Julio Jones. So, the fact that they're going to be able to open up a lot with Julio, and because he's such a deep threat, even if he's not getting the ball and he's not the primary target on a play and he's the decoy, you have to respect his catchability and his deep, and everything enough that it's going to pull defenders and it's going to pull a safety away. And guess what? That safety's 30, 40 yards down the field. He's not worried about AJ Brown coming underneath for a catch. Or he's not worried about Derrick Henry running up the field. Safety's having to come up and finish that tackle on Derrick Henry. Well, that's not the case anymore because the safety's gone. So, it's one of those where this just opens up so much more for an offense that was already very good. Now, I will say the question then comes, well, teams don't do this unless they are trying to win a title. Are the Titans title contenders? I say yes, but with a catch. I think the catch is that your defense needs to show up.
Yep.
They did get, they did upgrade in pass rush. If they got, I think they signed Bud Dupree this offseason, which does help their pass rush, and they needed pass rush help. That was like they had none last year, which is why they weren't as good as they could have been. They also need consistent corner play because they haven't had that in the last few years. They thought Malcolm Butler could be that, and they gave him a massive contract, and he wasn't. So that's another thing that needs to, become a consistency that will help them win a title. So their defense has a lot of questions. I think at the end of the day, because they did get Caleb Farley in the draft, who was a corner that a lot of people thought could be a top 5, top 10 corner. He just had some injuries in his past that scared people away and scared teams. So if Caleb Farley's healthy and playing well, automatically you have a top 5 corner from the draft that's playing. Then you also got Bud Dupree, who if Bud Dupree slots in and starts helping out your pass rush, well, then maybe your pass rush comes to life, like it did. And if that's the case and what I just said occurs, then that team's going to be absurd because their defense is going to be good enough. Look at the Chiefs, when the Chiefs won the title and the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last year. The reason why the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl is because they had a ridiculous offense. I mean, yes, they had Patrick Mahomes, but they had a ridiculous offense. Look at their defense. Their defense wasn't spectacular. It wasn't great, but their defense was like a pretty middle of the road, good enough defense, which is what you need. That's all that matters when you have a good enough offense to carry you, far. You just need a defense that's able to play well enough to win you games and keep you in games. And that's what they did. Same with the Titans. If the Titans can find a little bit of pass rush, can find a little bit of consistency at corner and secondary, then their offense is going to freaking hum like the best car you've ever heard. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. So I'm excited nonetheless to watch it just because of that. But yeah, it's going to be, they're a contender if that defense is able to step up and become even a top 16 defense,
Yeah, so that's pretty much my same take as well. I don't know too much about the Titans draft recently. If they drafted for defense, you could be pretty hopeful about bringing in like younger guys, new rookies come in. Maybe those end up actually like melding together really well, and you have like even just an average defense compared to the trash they put out there last year. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Otherwise, like it goes without saying, the Titans are going to be like probably the number 1 Madden choice in terms of like teams that they're going to want to play as, because they're going to be so much fun to bring online and do whatever with. I guess it's really it is contingent on the defense. If they're going to be able to take over and have like some guys slot in, do well, maybe you get some younger guys come in and they just like pick up the slack and at least get some pass rush going, like you're saying. Maybe they can make up for their deficiencies elsewhere. But needless to say, they'll be a really fun team, like by far, because it was kind of fun to root for the Titans anyways. Ryan Tannehill also adds another dimension to that offense too. He can obviously move pretty well, and if he seems to be able to continue the way he's been playing, maybe we thought it was just going to be the 1 year of him being a flash in the pan, but he's put up 2 consistent years, so I don't think it's a flash in the pan. So yeah, it lies on the defense. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch where they go, and as long as Julio can actually stay on the field and not be injured, I think they're going to be borderline, I guess unstoppable. They lost one significant, member of the offensive line. Otherwise, their O-line stuck up pretty well as far as I remember. Yeah. So they, they could absolutely go off in a couple of playoffs. And as long as, there's another part of it too. You could do the same old, what is it? I'm trying to think of the team that did this last, but basically just run the clock into the ground and keep your defense off the field. Keep them on there for, the lowest time of possession you possibly can. And whatever they put out there, maybe they can, force a couple of turnovers, whatever else. Otherwise, just lean on that offense, and you have the ability to run the ball and just run the ball repeatedly and kill the clock. It's there. And then if you need to go for the kill shot, you need to pick up to that hurry-up offense, 2-minute drill. Okay, now you have everything you need and 2 huge wide receivers too. So I think they're equipped for lots of things. I'll be a fan. I was a fan last year because it's really fun to watch Derrick Henry run. I feel like everyone's pretty synonymous on that. And it's going to be, there's so many different additions to the team. Obviously, we have a lot more to go into with local teams as well, but it's going to be a very quick turnaround, I feel like, to the time we get into OTAs and we get into the preseason. It's going to be fun to approach that. And boom, perfect segue into that. OTAs and mini camps are coming up here. with Jordan Love currently being the QB1 right now. I guess he would be QB1. I think Blake Bortles.
Oh yeah, he's playing reps as QB1, and
okay.
he just came out and Dylan said that he'll be ready QB1 day one when the first game rolls around, he's ready to start. And I'm like, oh god, like here we go. I do enjoy the fact that the Packers are now experiencing what we experience as Bears fans every single year, which is the idea that maybe our quarterback is not going to be very good this year. And that's what we experience every single year. And here we are. Now they're finally getting to experience a little bit of it, in a very small, minuscule amount. Now, the one thing I will say is, to start this out first, is, do you genuinely think, or genuinely, I should say, think that Aaron Rodgers will be back this year? That's my thing, first off.
Hold on, sorry, I actually messed up the on screen when I was looking at.
Just transition it because we get. Well, oh my gosh.
Hold on. There we go. Boom, right back. Immediate fix.
Okay.
Do I genuinely think that he is going to play this year? Like, it's hard to imagine a world in which it isn't crushingly disappointing and he just ends up coming back and playing as usual, and it becomes a little holdout thing where it's like, oh, we had some things to work out and it's actually fine. Boom, boom, boom. Week 3 of the season, nobody's even talking or thinking about it. It's hard to believe that won't happen. Like, on the realistic side of me, of course, I really hope it does happen, but I don't know. It's a unique set of circumstances that hasn't really come up before. He's just coming off of MVP. I mean, he does have a lot of guarantee. I mean, obviously, he's loaded for life. He seems to have turned a different chapter in his life with, like, his new fiance and, doing whatever he wants. It seems pretty chill, more than he's ever been before, at least in the public eye.
Yeah.
So if I had to put money on, like, somebody doing something as crazy as that and actually holding out or just straight up retiring out of here, out of nowhere.
Makes sense.
I would say that he would be the person to do it because he is an anomaly compared to other NFL players and everything that's been shown about his personality publicly. Like, the thing that I hate the most about it is, like, I do like Aaron Rodgers as a person when I've, like, in his outside non-NFL side of field and stuff, like his personality, the way he, like, his humor about things and the way he approaches different subjects. I think he'd probably be pretty cool to talk to, and I think I do like him for that aspect. On the field, as a Packer player, he usually ruins every Sunday that they play the Bears and, every playoff run they'd ever had and everything else like that. So hate him for that, but he really is the kind of person that I could see doing that and kind of just literally fading away if he wanted to. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Do I think it's really going to happen? Of course not, because that would just be too convenient. He'd be leaving too much money on the table for financial concerns and financial reasons. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But there is the outside chance that he doesn't do the most logical thing and he doesn't care about money, and maybe he has a different gig lined up. I don't know what his loyalty to the Packer fan base to do that and how you'd feel about that would be, but like I said, it's one of those things where logically, no, of course not, but it's not impossible and I could see it happen, and my god, that would be absolutely top tier off-season content. That's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, no, it's straight up would be. It's just such a weird, confusing world for the Packers right now, because, like, Jordan Love has been, like, first day of mandatory practice, wow, he's terrible. I can't believe he's going to be their quarterback. Second day, wow, he's making incredible throws. He's playing great. And I'm, like, thinking about it the whole time. I'm like, is this like a ploy? Like, are they doing this to get Rodgers back? Like, and then there's the whole question of, like, are they actually going to fine Rodgers like $93,000 for not showing up to mandatory practice? And I'm like, I feel like if you do, you put the nail in the coffin, like, we don't want you here kind of thing. Like,
they're not able to forgive those, honestly. I thought that's what I was reading too in the new CBA. They can't even forgive those fines. That's just like a baked in thing.
Yeah, but the thing is like, they could put in, like, his contract, like a, hey, here's an extra whatever for, like, the fine that we took care of. Like,
that's
if
true.
They did restructure a new contract. But it's one of those where I'm just like, do they fine him at this point? Like, if they do, like, is that just like the nail in the coffin? Like, well, listen, we're fining you for not showing up. Like, we're trying to stay strong. And then Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
like, good luck with Jordan Love. Here, that's going great. Like, just,
yeah.
Like, Aaron, it's one of those. And the scary part too about this whole thing, and, it's media and social media and all that, but is that like fans are like legit like on the side of the Packers, and I'm just like, why? It's like, have you not watched for like literally this man's entire career as they tried every year to piss him off as hard as like as much as they can? Like, did you not watch them draft his replacement after you guys lost the game that what the NFC freaking championship? You lost the NFC championship to go to the Super Bowl, and the next year your team went, yeah, we really couldn't stop the run. There's a couple different ways we could go. Maybe we get a weapon for Rodgers. And then Gutekunst and whatever his name is, the freaking coach LaFleur was like, you know what? We're gonna draft his replacement. That's what we need. That's what's gonna win us that game. We would have won that San Francisco 49ers game if we had Jordan Love back there sitting on the bench cheering everybody on. Like, this is like, it's just like, are we surprised at this point that Aaron Rodgers is this pissed off at the team? And like, I saw a thing that was like, oh, he's not mad at the people. He just wants a say in like what the organization does. And it's like, yeah, he wants a say in what the organization does so that he can call them up and go, yeah, Gutekunst, what in the actual hell are you thinking about when you make this freaking decision? Like, it's just so stupid. Like, like I said, they were literally a one singular game. They couldn't stop the run and they lost, and they would have made it to the Super Bowl. And what do they do the next year? Oh, they draft his replacement and trade up to draft him. And then what do they do? Then you're like, okay, well, maybe they did that in the first round. Well, maybe they'll help out in the second and third rounds. No, in the second round, they're going to draft the backup running back. Okay, but we still have the third round. Now we're going to draft a tight end who's also kind of a fullback. And he's really never going to start because he's kind of a fullback. So he's really not that great of a tight end. So he's really not going to be another weapon for him. And then you just go, yeah, I'm not surprised that he's pissed off at you guys. Like, I'm just really not. Like,
really out of nowhere.
Yeah, like, man, it's just really crazy. Like, I don't even know why Aaron's so mad. Like, I mean, the team hasn't drafted a skilled player in 16 years, but like, I mean, there's other teams that have done that, and then somebody comes over and is like, actually, no, there's not other teams that have done that, and then they go like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why he's pissed off. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're the problem. I see.
Yeah. Oh, I see the problem. I see that we couldn't make it to the Super Bowl in 2 years, and then we decided to not draft people that would help that. And then like, hey, we lost to the Buccaneers in a Super Bowl where, one, we chose to kick a field goal when we were down by 7 with Aaron Rodgers, our quarterback. Again, another genius move. And then, beyond that, then what did you do in the offseason? You're like, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is pretty pissed at us. Let's try and keep him. We're going to get rid of his center. We're going to not extend anybody like the wide receiver, his favorite target and probably the best player he's had since Jordy Nelson to throw the ball to. We're not going to extend that guy just yet. And then we're also going to let, like I said, his center walk. We're also, what else do we, oh, you know what? Kevin King was kind of annoying. We should re-sign him. And then we should draft a corner in the first round to replace Kevin King. But he's not going to replace Kevin King because Kevin King's still on the roster and they're going to have a competition. Genius. What a great offseason.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's some like Jets, Jaguars, Texans offseason type plans. And this is like, you can't do that when you have Aaron Rodgers. He literally just won the MVP, and we're talking about a guy who's so pissed off at the organization that he doesn't want to show up to the mandatory practices after winning the MVP trophy last year.
Yeah.
My God. Like, and people are like, I don't know why Aaron Rodgers is so pissed. Like,
yeah.
He's just making himself look so bad. He should just show up. And it's like, okay, like, what? Like, he hasn't shown up for 16 years for you? Like, I'm sorry, but most teams don't go from Hall of Fame quarterback to another Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe don't piss off the one that you have right now.
Yeah.
Like, have fun with Jordan Love for the next 3 years before his contract's up, and then he's out of the league because he's not great.
Yeah, that's what's up, Craig? He was saying Jordan loved looking good, dropping dimes in OTAs. Sir, that was a 5-yard pass. Yeah, honestly, from
yeah, that one pass. Literally, he's referencing this tweet that somebody put that was like, Jordan loves dropping dimes, and then literally throws a 5-yard Texas route from the running back, and you're like, great, like, wow, what a dime. Like, I'm pretty sure I could have thrown that. Like,
Yeah.
it's so stupid. It's so dumb. And then this reporter, what is his name? I can't remember. I have it written down. Rob Demovsky is like, I guess, a reporter close to the Packers, tweeted out about how Jordan Love is having like a rough day. And then the next day he tweets out like, Jordan Love had an incredible day. The offensive coordinator literally had to fan him because he was on fire. And I'm like, really? Is this like Jordan? It's so stupid. It's like, okay, like you guys do realize that you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that you're just like, you're just pissing off every single day. It's not surprising. It's just not surprising. Like, as a Bears fan, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to make him mad every single move you possibly can? Like,
if you don't appreciate him, just give him over. Just give him over here.
Like, I think the Packers organization, like on their whiteboards in every office, just has a thing that says, all right, brainstorm what are ideas that we can do to piss him off this year. And then that's what they do. And then they execute those ideas. And then we get to, as Bear fans, we go, wow, I can't believe they're just going to continue to piss off that guy that beats us every single year. Like, just so stupid. It's just so dumb. It's so annoying, especially because I'm a fan of a team that hasn't had a Hall of Fame quarterback since Sid Luckman. And, it's one of those where I'm just like, listen, we got Justin Fields. Shout out to Justin Fields jersey. And I'm literally could not be the happiest in my life because Justin Fields is literally the most talented quarterback we've ever had in our entire organization. And then we have to constantly watch a team just piss off their second Hall of Fame quarterback back to back.
And boom, that was a perfect transition to what we were talking about here, because it wouldn't be a podcast without recouping and going over some of the Bears practice, OTA, mini camp, whatever it is now.
Finish up with some of this.
Yeah, just a little bit of brief, just a little tiny segment to throw up on the YouTube there.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, which is funny because is I've heard a lot about how like all of the coaches are like just surprised by how well Justin Fields is performing, and I'm like, yeah, that's because you guys have had to watch Mitch Trubisky for 4 straight years play terribly, and so like when you actually get a good, talented quarterback in, you go, wow, he can complete that pass. Do quarterbacks make that pass? And you go, yes, that's what quarterbacks do, and you go, wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you get a good quarterback that actually has the talent and ability to complete throws on an NFL level. That's what happens. So
in terms of completing throws on an NFL level, this was a picture of Darnell Mooney when he was asked in a press conference about Justin Fields and how his performance had gone and the deep ball. And the quote that goes along with it was, "It's a deep ball, man. He knows where he wants to put it, and it's very accurate. Great player, great person as well," which is such a funny anecdote to put on the end because of how many people are drooling over him right now.
That's because Darnell Mooney was so good last year, and that doesn't even hold the fact that like he literally got overthrown on every deep ball he tried to run. Like the amount of deep balls that there's videos on the internet, on YouTube, of just compilations of Darnell Mooney just outrunning or outskill the defender, and then he's wide open 40 yards down the field, and the ball's like underthrown or overthrown or just, I don't know, not even in the frame, because who knows where they were throwing the ball. So like it's absurd. This is what happens. Like I said, this is what happens when everybody finally gets a quarterback that can play very well. One of my favorites is a guy. Oh, of course, now I'm not gonna be able to think of his name. From NBC Sports, they just let him go, which was rough because I loved that podcast when he was on there. But he basically had a tweet that was like, so in practice today, one quarterback for the Bears was really good. One quarterback was really bad. In unrelated news, Justin Fields has a cannon. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much that Justin Fields is every bit the talent and great quarterback that we know he can be, and we'll absolutely can't wait to watch. It's just funny that like literally every player is like, oh, this is what it means to have a quarterback. I cannot. The person I'm most excited for is Allen Robinson, because I'm excited for Allen Robinson to not have any more to catch the ball from Blake Bortles or Trubisky, which are the 2 quarterbacks that throw him the ball the most, which is sad.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about guys that are underappreciated and underrated. It's freaking Allen Robinson, who literally has put up number one receiver, Pro Bowl level numbers every year with, like I said, the majority of his receptions coming from Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky. And
Yeah.
where are both of those players? Oh, they're backups for random teams because who cares?
And just to put off another quote on the side of things I've never heard when Trubisky was in practice was from Bears running back Damian Williams, another underrated addition, hopefully. He threw a ball in cover 2 coverage, just a little hole shot that you have to get into, back shoulder. It was beautiful. And that was also from Justin Fields. And I've never heard that before. I've never heard all the coverages called out in actually precise throws that were thrown to actually break through that coverage. So that's great to hear too.
Yeah,
there's so many of these. There's so many.
It's so funny to watch because it's just, we've been so starved as an organization, a city, a media for a quarterback that can perform at a normal NFL level. And the fact that we even have a quarterback making NFL throws is just blowing everybody's minds because we just haven't seen it. It's literally been years and years and years. The last time I saw NFL throws be made was Jay Cutler. And, you know, it's like, I don't even blame, again, as a Bears fan, I don't even blame Jay Cutler for the time he spent here. The only problem Jay Cutler had was that he was too cocky. But the rest of it, I mean, he was literally getting sacked all the time, had nobody to throw to. And we were just like, all right, Jay, go out there and get killed and try to make something happen to win a game. And Jay, of course, went out and did his best. And I honestly was like sad to watch because I felt bad for him for most of the time. So the fact that we have a quarterback who's playing consistently well in practice and showing what an NFL quarterback should look like is great. And that alone gives me hope for the season. So
it would be wrong to go without saying, in 7-on-7s, Andy Dalton got picked off 3 times today. Now, is that something that really is super important? No, it doesn't have to be, but it's just kind of fun to juxtaposition it to what Justin Fields is doing.
Yeah, but it's also an indicator of like, you know, it's so one, you don't want to get overreacting because he's learning the offense just like Justin Fields. It's not an offense he's familiar with. He's never ran this offense before. So he's learning and is almost like a rookie, just like Justin Fields. So the fact that he threw 3 picks, yes, that's a little scary because, I mean, 3 picks is not great for any practice or situation. But you also have to understand, too, fully that it's it's early and they're learning the playbook and it's not the end of the world. So, but I do think it's hilarious that Justin Fields is basically the quarterback and professional that we all thought, you know, we could get out of every quarterback we've ever had. And so we're all shocked by a quarterback that can just make normal throws.
And in terms of that, let's see some of those throws because I think we actually have some footage that maybe won't even get DMCA that's on here, just some OTA passes. Yeah. And I think this is probably going to be, if not the last thing that we're going to end on. So we had an extra long edition. We got to get a good note. Yeah, something to look forward to the future. So let's take a look at a couple of these passes and just get used to hopefully seeing more of these in the next podcast and in the future as well. I think this covers all the frame and everything.
God, that's so beautiful. I mean, even that throw was great. I just like, look the. Just the accuracy, the actual touch, the ball getting there right where it should be. It's just nice to watch. Nice to watch for the first time. And who knows how long.
These ones are widescreen, but yeah, you could see some of these. You could see most of the throws from here.
Look at that throw.
A little dart.
Yep.
There's a couple of these that are pointed out too. Khalil Herbert, Dalton, and Justin Fields 1-on-1 there.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, how much of this video is in widescreen?
That's okay.
I'm just going to do this because whatever. There we go.
I also love everything that Justin Fields has been saying and everything he's been doing. Like the mentality that he has and everything he's just saying is just what you want. It's what you want out of your quarterback. Just everything. His quote that he came on said that, if you're not trying to win a starting job, then why are you here? Like, that's fantastic. That's what I want out of my,
Look at these.
That's what I want out of my quarterback. Things like that, things like him just, basically being a leader and talking and everything like that. Like, I want Andy Dalton to start still because I think what people miss is like, people are like, oh, you need to start Justin Fields right away. He's the better quarterback. And it's like, Yeah, but let's also give Justin Fields a couple games to still continue to pick up the offense. Like, he needs to learn the offense before he gets thrown in with the Wolves. So let that happen naturally rather than, in a panic state like it could be.
Yeah. My
So-
God, look at some of the touch on these. I love it.
Oh yeah, the ball's beautiful. It's like, it's great. It's fantastic. It's so much fun to see a quarterback actually make good throws and wear a Bears uniform, because that hasn't happened in
You just
1,000 years.
even see it coming out of his hand and stuff on some of the deep balls, which they threw a lot of bombs. They had a lot of footage of like bombs that were being thrown down the field. So that was kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
that one from
Well,
Dalton,
it's because
obviously.
they run the slants and they run the out routes and the all the non-flashy routes that you would see in a game. They run those constantly in practice, and I'm sure he's performing well in them. It's just one of those where they're not flashy. People want to see the deep throw.
Yeah, and it's fair to say too. Justin Fields had, I think, 2 fumbles when he was coming out of the shot, or coming out of center, which I understand he is a primarily shotgun quarterback, so that's not really a big thing to be worried about at all.
And you also have to gain chemistry and build a camaraderie with your center and everything, timing, because it's so quick the way it needs to happen in the NFL that, like, it's not surprising that he would have some issues as far as timing and things when coming out of the center or coming out from underneath the center, because it's such a quick, it's like a field goal kick. When field goal kick, it's less than, it's like 1.7 seconds or something from the fact that when the ball snapped to when it's kicked. It's the same kind of thing with a snap. It happens so quickly that there's the chemistry issue, there's where the ball's going to be placed, where the laces are placed, when the snap comes, when you snap it, because you have to basically time yourself. You have to basically sync yourself with the timing that the center goes by, his reaction time. So it's just, there's a lot that goes into that, so that's not surprising. And that's why you do these, that's why you do OTAs. That's why you do a training camp. That's why you do a preseason. It's to work out all those kinks. So not surprising.
Yeah.
And not worry.
So it looks like pretty much for the most part, we got lots of things to look forward to, lots of things to follow.
Yep.
I'm going to call this a wrap on June 9th,
Yeah, we got
extra long podcast.
Yeah, this is an extra long podcast, but you had plenty of stuff to go through, plenty of topics. If you missed any of them or want to catch any of them in the further, check out our YouTube channel, where we'll be posting all of those clips this weekend, as well as any clips from the past podcast you can check out there as well. If you are here or still listening, or are listening at home in YouTube and whatever it may be, thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us a listen. Like I said, it was an extra long podcast, got through a lot of topics. Next week, we'll have a lot more. We didn't get to the Major League Baseball topic, but we'll talk about that next time. So that's a teaser for next one. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of news that comes by next time. So thank you again, Tessa, for joining us and teaching us all about that. Thank you, for all of the information that we got from that. And hopefully next time we could bring Danny on to give us a lesson in all of the Euros and soccer and football in general. So there's that to look forward to. And I think that's it. I think that's everything.
Yeah, shouts out to our editing and our production team for the next couple of days and getting everything up. Hopefully we can actually have everything up and posted fully without all the bells and whistles this time. It'll be exciting as well. So that's going to be a wrap on June 9th. Probably our most in-depth podcast in a while, and lots of meat to go through and lots of things upcoming to go with in the future. So that's going to be a wrap, and I think almost 3 hours, just short of 3 hours.
Yep.
So good night. Take care.